Hi everyone, this is Charmander, and today I have the Panda Guy, which everyone knows is the OG of all the YouTubers in Doomsday Last Survivor. So Panda, welcome, man.
Oh, well, thank you for welcoming me. Uh, Thanks for having me on your little podcast. We can have some fun in here and chat about all the good stuff.
Yeah, for sure, man. So before we start recording, we were already actually talking about some good stuff. So I hope that we can bring it back here. So you're talking about
Yeah.
Genesis War, and you said that when you are playing in this event, because we're both in GW right now, as we know, we're filming this video.
Yeah.
You said that your alliance has a lot of filler accounts that I guess you can use for filling rallying garrison and also for farming resources. And then you said that you purposely get a lot of the first capture rewards as much as possible, especially even in that double GW map when there's like a duplicate on the other side.
Yeah.
Can you just walk us through like, what you're doing there and the thought process behind it?
Yeah, I'll say this real quick. You actually don't need these accounts to be registered and stuff because I know you mentioned like them being filler for like rallies and stuff. They're called fillers, but it's mainly just like that's just their name. Like a lot of these are like 6 mil might accounts. As long as you're in the alliance for a day, you can actually get capture rewards in any event. So if you like just register for an event, you can pop in before like actual matchmaking is progressed, da 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 da, and you can always get in for capture rewards even if you're not in the actual event. So it's pretty freaking convenient. But capture rewards are freaking vital. I mean, it's not as good in like Island Raid and stuff unless you capture like sevens and stuff, which the seven, for example, in Island Raid is as good as like in Genesis War, where you get like a defense station, and since you have so many you can capture within 3 days, you can farm them a lot. Like if you can dominate a map and like you have swarmers who can just take out defense stations pretty quickly, like I'm able to farm up to like depending like especially on the double map, since you get 1.5 mil food, 1.5 mil wood per defense station, and you get double that per science hub, and you get like 750k steel. I think it's 300k oil. These freaking gather up fast, especially if you have a ton of accounts. Like even people who run like help bots, for example, a lot of people have those. You can always just raid those. Obviously, there's a 30% tax on them, but that's a ton of resources you can net if you're able to constantly kind of monopolize capture rewards. So it's freaking massive. Because I've been able to net in like 40 million plus resources a day on every single filler account in the alliance and just have them send out resources to the main fighters. And on top of that, I will actually mention during Archipelago Raid, do you know the coins you get from like fighting and stuff? You know how you have the shop after the event ends, like an Archipelago Raid, where you can buy like armaments, homes, and stuff.
The journey store?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So if you register, and what I'll do is sometimes I'll register these filler accounts, or you can even register like really baby accounts, as long as you can't get, I think it's 120 coins, right? And you can easily do that from just slow building a single tower. So like for example, when your team's building like on the last day towards the other checkpoint, most of the time, right? If you do that and you slow build, you can get like let's say these 120 coins, and if you spend those coins in the store, you can get like because you're limited to how much you can get depending on how many coins you have, but you're always going to be able to get the resource packs. If you get all the resource packs that cost around 120 coins, I believe if you were to convert it into like specifically food or wood, you could get 70 million per account. So it's like it's a really good way to like actually farm resources. Like most of my resources that I get on like these like farms aren't actually from farming resources. It's from abusing capture rewards and rewards like Archipelago Raid, like I just mentioned. So it's freaking massive if you can, manage it, or you have people who are willing to, kind of do that, or even just have the accounts in the alliance when you're getting these capture rewards. I will say, by the way, this is something I also want to note because this caught me off guard. Make sure you claim them as soon as possible because they can get pushed out of your mail. If you get your 99 mail, you won't be able to get the capture words anymore. So, like for example, when you capture a tower or your tower is destroyed and captured by somebody else, you get an alert in your alliance thing. You don't want that to get pushed out, and then you don't get the capture words, and it's just a waste. But sorry, I rambled for quite a bit there.
Wait, what was that side tangent thing that you said? I'm a little bit confused. So
Okay. So you know how like you get like for example, if you fight a lot, you'll get like over 100 like let's say fighting mail, right? For in your battle log. And then like if you have over 100, not all the mail is accumulated there, right? Some of the mail starts disappearing. if you get like for example when your tower is captured in Genesis War, it'll proc you kind of, unfortunately your outer watchtower has been destroyed, right?
Right.
If you have a lot of that and you even capture towers, so let's say the next day when you're capturing towers, it'll say that you've captured towers and it'll give you like prompts in your mail. If those push out, if you get 99 mails within like the period before you claim the capture rewards, it'll push out your capture rewards. You can't get the resource anymore. So you do have to be very active to the point of like actually claiming those within like a day or two, or else you just won't get the resources. Like once I waited half a day to get it, and we got so many mails that I just didn't get the resources on my farms. You know what I mean? So it is
Right.
something you got to be kind of uh, knowledgeable of.
Right. I never thought of it from that perspective because I mainly play on my main account and I'm always clearing my mail. So, but I didn't know that, if it stacks up over time, if you have like a side account on alt or farm, that it can actually get pushed out. So that's completely new to me.
Yeah, it caught me off guard too because I was going through my accounts. I was like, "Oh, love these capture rewards," right? Whereas I probably should have went through them and just claimed all the rewards before going through and sending out resources. I was claiming them, going through the bag, opening them, and then sending them out. And then I was going through the next one. And then eventually we got too many mails, and the rest of the accounts just didn't get resources. And I was like, "What the hell?" I was like, "Why are you gonna do me like this, man?" I was so happy.
That's funny. Yeah. Well, based on what you said, the first thing I was thinking is like those farmers that's going to AR or events, they're doing it wrong because they're farming the slow way. They can just instead make a bunch of those farm accounts, stick them to different alliances, get those free rewards, right? From the first capture, and they can kind of pull together, you know, in their main.
It's no joke. It's OP. Like people really don't understand it. It's the freaking method. As long as they don't make them linked resources like this freaking elite supplies event.
Yeah, what's up with that? It's not like what's the point of a link resource? Because after you open them, it's not linked anymore, right?
No, when you open them, you can't send them out. They can't be rated off of you. Like it's so stupid. I don't get the point of that. I think it's so you can't send the resources out, but like, why would you even do that? It's like it's not like you're giving us a freaking massive load of resources in the first place. The only guess I can make is maybe they're trying to introduce linked resources so they can further introduce it in the future, which I still find stupid though, because what is the point of having resources you can't raid, right? Like I'm gonna burn a guy and he's just gonna have a ton of linked resources open healing while I'm freaking burning him. Like SMD, bro. Though I will say, from what I understand, you go through your linked resources first, so you probably wouldn't be sitting on those either way. Like when you're getting burnt, but you get what I'm saying. It's just stupid. I don't know. Maybe they're gonna try to introduce it in the future to other things, like for example, capture rewards to prevent you from like giving them to your alliance mates, which is kind of dumb because imagine you're actually just a normal player trying to load up your whale or something and you just can't send your freaking resources because they're all linked. So like, ah, no bueno.
I think I know why they are creating the linked resource because a lot of those companies that is selling rentals for healing bots, they are also now trying to diversify their revenue source. So they're selling resources now. So I think that's one way to target those people because like all the updates that they're doing recently seems to be targeted towards those brokers, right? Those healing bot brokers who's trying to expand their services to selling resources as well. So it sounds like, oh, the more link resources there are, then those companies selling those resources would be out of business, right? So they're kind of forcing them out. So that's kind of like
Yeah,
my first thought process there when I saw them having the link resource. And I think the other one, it's kind of like a creep nerf, you could say, where they're trying to prevent farm accounts so that you're forced to buy
spend more.
resources. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, it's like a sneaky way of doing it, kind of like playing, testing the waters to see how people react. If no one says anything, then hey, they're good to go. They can implement this, and people don't even know that they just got nerfed, right? It's not like the healing bot that got like a massive, backlash from the community, right? It's like because it's a
yeah,
big deal, but the resource thing kind of went under the radar, in my opinion.
yeah. Thing is, right? I do agree that I think it's like probably to also just go after the sellers because someone had mentioned this to me. Though I don't know. I feel like sellers have kind of been in the game for a while, and I don't really know how many of them use this like method I mentioned, but I know like a lot of them have just like programs to just auto farm resources a lot of the time, or they'll just like hand do it either way. So it's like unless you're freaking linking the resources they're gathering, it's pretty hard to nerf these guys that hard, you know what I mean? I don't know. Because I know, like, for example, like SSI, I'm not trying to call anybody out, but SSI, for example, has like a freaking like whole like bot system thing, right? That's able to like auto gather. I think like even do like auto for water war and all this type of stuff. So I mean, like they don't have an issue getting resources, you know what I mean? They're just gonna have a bunch of their freaking farms auto gathering even without the like paid auto gather feature. So, yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing that more and more now, the auto gathering bots happening. Like I think we played this one alliance. I think their name was Neva in Island Raid, and they just had like their whale players auto farming all over the map, and it's pretty obvious because they'll go inside a node and then come back out, in and out. So
To be fair, you can do that with the actual like paid auto gather. You just like select like a smaller amount of troops. So it like it'll dissuade people from coming over to like hit your nodes, right? Because it's like, why am I gonna come over here to just injure like 10 like or 5 troops every single time I kill a thing, right? Tier 1 troops at that a lot of the time. And also you're just risking like some dude like sniping your march while you're trying to like one tap these like tiny little baby marches because those resources add up really fast. But to like snipe the marches consistently is kind of not worth it, especially if they're using tier 1 troops because it's like you're getting no points. You're not really hurting them because they're going to heal that in like a 0 seconds. You know what I mean? I don't know.
right. Yeah, I completely forgot about that feature because it's just one of those things that kind of fell under the radar, like the
Yeah.
yeah, like I knew when it came out, it was kind of like, oh, that's cool. You can heal while you're sleeping, right? But yeah, I just completely forgot it even existed. So it's kind of funny that you bring that up. Um, I do want to ask you a funny question, man. So completely different topic now. So
Yeah.
this, what's going on between you and Jigsaw? Don't you guys have like a little bit of like a frenemies thing going on? I'm just kind of
Oh
curious.
my gosh. Dude, freaking Slim? This guy's been on Discord. Uh, well, so I call him Slim. I don't know if you know why. Do you know why we call him Slim?
Is that his name in the game? In Discord? I
No,
don't. I'm not in
okay, no,
Discord.
no, okay. His old Discord account got banned off the
Okay.
Discord. Like the admins banned him because he was like selling like TC ranks and stuff. So the issue with Slim is he's just dumb. Okay, like he says a bunch of stupid stuff on Discord. I feel like I can't tell if he's trolling or not because he's just like I don't even know. Like, I don't think a single like I don't think he's trolling because I know a lot of the rhetoric he regurgitates in the game, but he'll say a lot of stuff that's just like blatantly wrong, and that's everybody just dislikes him. They're like, oh, Slim's back in chat. You know what I mean? I
Right.
don't hate the guy. It just every time I see him in chat, I get a headache. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, no, I was just wondering. I'm like, because he'll come to our alliance chat, right? And then he'll talk about like what's happening in Discord. I'm like, huh? What? There's like something happening
Oh
between
my
you and a
gosh.
bunch of other guys there. Like,
No, yeah, everybody just hates on him every time he chats. Like nobody really takes him seriously because we all know he's like wrong 99% of the time when he just, you know, talks.
right, right, gotcha. Okay, well, we'll leave it to that. Yeah, yeah. Anyways, I want to ask you, dude, about bees actually.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much you've kind of been working on bees personally, but the first question I have is kind of simple. So I had a podcast with Z, and I was asking him a question about troop types. So range beats infantry, infantry beats rider, rider beats range. And he kind of said there's roughly about 5% advantage for the troop type that has an advantage over another one, kind of like rock, paper, scissors. So
Yeah.
what do you think about the elemental beasts specifically? Do you think they have like a kind of like a 5% advantage also roughly on top of the other elemental beasts that they're weak against? Like fire beats like leaf, right? Leaf beats water and water beats fire. Like what's
I'm not okay. So I'll say this, right? Z's Z's probably right with like the 5% thing. I will say, like, obviously, I think it's a bit different as well, though, because I do think the like there's like a stat difference, right, between like when you're diffing a troop type. But the issue is, I'm assuming why he said that is maybe because what's it called? There's so many stats already inflated in the game that like, having, for example, like a 30% attack difference isn't going to kill your troop type alone. So I don't know, maybe there's that. But I don't really know the exact like beast difference, and even if the like stat difference was the same, I don't think beasts have gotten to the point where like, for example, like 30% attack would have the same, like weight as 30% attack difference in, like range to infantry or something. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if I explained that right. Explained that well.
Kind of. Kind of get it, kind of not.
I mean, to be fair though, right? I don't know because I don't I'm not a fan of like I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't really care as much about beasts on the field. I mean, they're still going to be really annoying, especially once you get these chips up at this point. Like they're freaking going to clomper you. So I guess being able to diff each other is pretty important. And I mean, you do get a combo in like towers and stuff, but I kind of just got to the point where I'm like, I'm going to stick with my freaking combo on my beast, and I'm just going to hope that I don't get countered and freaking slapped into the afterlife. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because honestly, I can't be bothered with beasts at this point. I'm just like, there's too much. There's too much, bro. I'm just gonna pray and hope.
Yeah, man, I personally felt like when they released the Beast, it kind of ruined the game because it made the power difference way too big. Like I knew right when they released it, I'm like, oh God, this is gonna be like, you know, it's gonna be worse than Workshop and armaments, you know?
You, you, you
Um,
know,
yeah,
Sorry, I'm cutting. Okay, I was gonna say, the real issue with like them releasing Beast, it's not really them releasing Beast in itself. I'd say it's kind of the same as when they released Workshop to some degree, right? It's the issue of them like I feel it's the pacing of them releasing stuff, right? Like nobody had issues with them releasing like I didn't have an issue with them releasing armaments, for example. But for example, when they dropped armaments, I feel like they did it all wrong because um maybe it's just me, but I feel like they had dropped over, and I mean they haven't changed armaments since they come out. But when you really look at how many armaments there are, right? You have like freaking well over 100 probably throughout the whole game, and it's like it just feels kind of overwhelming. It's like you should have probably released them in smaller batches, and even maybe waited on dropping like supreme armaments, for example, and you could have like upped their value to some degree, and like also think of it like this, right? It's also a win for the game developers because instead of people directly going and saying, "Hey, I'm going to just spend on supreme armaments instead of normal armaments," like a whale, right? They're going to work on the normal armaments. You drop supreme armaments, you are able to kind of change the scaling, or sorry, the balance of the game. You're also changing like the whale's focus in a, hey, now I'm going to spend on this. I'm going to hone on this instead, and you're also not like instantly dropping workshop instead in the place of like maybe dropping a supreme armament. You know what I mean? That's just kind of me. I feel like they could maybe like pace out their like releases better. Whereas like when Workshop released, it didn't seem like we had armaments for nearly as long as, we should have to been building them into getting something like Workshop, which kind of drastically changed the scale of the game.
I think the Workshop was bad because when it was initially released, only whales can get them, right? Because there was no way to get them for like a budget player, essentially. But now they have the special promo. It's more digestible, I think.
Oh,
Uh,
so yes. What happened was they had released them. You could only like there's no other way. You could only get the tier one without spending anything. Now, even if you don't spend, you can get them from you can get like fragments from merit chests. You can get them from War Meets War, etc. Right?
right.
You can get them from your radar station, even for tier two. You couldn't do none of that. Like you couldn't go to tier two without spending. Like there was absolutely no way. And the issue was really just them paywalling it, right? Like there's no issue, like, you guys making it super pay to win. Like I understand it. Like at the end of the day, you're a business. Like I know a lot of people are gonna like knock on IGG about everything, but I mean, I kind of understand them like paywalling to some degree, but completely like locking off features is kind of stupid. I kind of was behind that. What's funny is I made a video talking about it and how dumb it was. And the freaking next day I made that video, they drop like a patch note or something like, oh yeah, we're gonna change this by the way, guys. Like how are you gonna wait until I make a video and then you're gonna drop that and then I look stupid? You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I'm
Yeah.
out here complaining, looking like a freaking Karen.
Yeah. Yeah, they were waiting to troll you. They're like, okay,
Yeah, literally, bro.
we'll put a video out and then we'll pull the rug under him just to make it look like an ass.
Yeah, imagine just waiting for months to drop that video and you're like, finally, these
Yeah.
guys have pissed me off enough. And you drop the video and they're like, okay, we're scaling back, guys. We got you. We heard you, community.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like with the healing bot thing, right? Or the healing nerf. Re they reduced the nerf in a way because it's 500 helps now or 500 initiations as opposed to just 100. which made a lot of people quit. I think people are still planning on quitting. Can you run me through, by the way, what's happening in the community in that sense? Because I'm not in touch as much with the Apex players and Elite players. I play in the Fearless Warzone, right? So it's just like, for example, this GW we're doing right now is the first time in a long time that I've been in Elite. Like the first time I went to Elite, actually you were there. You and Z was in that same Elite as me
Yeah.
when I was in Grow Up back in the days. And High Guy.
Yeah, grow up.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know what you're talking about with was it Rogue's Island you're thinking of,
yeah.
maybe?
Rogue was in our team, and my our teammate there was saying racist stuff to piss everyone off. Remember Max,
Yeah,
the race? Um,
I remember.
yeah, yeah. He was just rage baiting, so he was trying to make High Guy look bad because he hates High Guy, right?
Yeah, I remember that. I was like, oh my gosh. I didn't really I kind of was just like, okay, what do? You just get players like these now and then.
Yeah.
Uh,
But anyways, yeah.
but you were asking about the healing thing though. So are you asking like from the perspective, like what do you how do you think it'll impact players at the higher level, or is that
Well,
what you're
okay,
asking?
like I know a lot of people were pissed off that they reduced the healing to 100 initially, right? And a lot of
Yeah.
were planning on quitting right when that happened because essentially, field battles will become pretty much non-existent, right? Because otherwise, there's a huge penalty to field battles, so you're kind of left with like tower wars only, I guess. Um, but then they went back said, "Oh, we listened to you guys. It's gonna be 500 initiations for heals now instead of 100. Yay! That's like, that's still like 1.2 million plus troops that you can heal per day without, you know, the use of healers or taps or whatever. So, and then that kind of made a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, that's not bad. That's fine. We'll accept it," even though it's still a nerf and it's still a slap in the face, right? So, but then there's also like a group of players who are like, "Nope, you know, that's still a cop out. IGG still screwing us over. This is unacceptable. We're gonna quit. We're not gonna give them any more of our money." So what's kind of been your perspective since you have the pulse on players who are more in the whale tier, right? Because you're playing the higher leagues, higher brackets.
Yeah. So I'll kind of explain how I see it on like overall, right? So I will say this. I think that, for example, that step back might have actually been pre-planned. I don't really in my case, the 500 helps is generally actually going to be pretty fine with me, right? I actually don't have an issue with the 500 in my case, right? But I can see why other people would have an issue. Not to mention, I will just say, right? Like, I think the community's kind of just been fed up with like IGG in general. I mean, I think I mentioned it in like one of my videos, but like literally every single post that you'll see on Discord, you get middle fingers. And it's been doing that for like a year, right? Like people just do not like they're just pissed off. Like they just are so fed up. But for example, I'll kind of give you this as like a something to feed on. Think about like, for example, you mentioned 1.2 mil, right? Off of the 500 helps. It's all relative to the player. Like in my case, I can heal 3,000 at a time if I micro heal and I get full 30 helps, right? But not every team does have the 30 helps, right? Like not every team has a 30 helps. Some people are healing micro healing batches of 500 or something. And if maybe the subscription feature was more reliable, if you get what I'm saying, because the new help feature on the subscription, right?
Yeah.
If it was like more reliable and how fast like the helps were pumping out, this maybe would have made more sense, but they're not, right? Like they're still helpful. I like it, but the issue is it's not going to be as fast as you having bots. So if you're trying to micro heal really fast, if you only have like let's say 10 bots, maybe you're healing 500 at a time, you're still maybe restricted to getting generally like 500k healed a day, which isn't like a crazy amount. And in my case, maybe I'm able to heal 1.5 mil, maybe I'm able to heal 1.8 mil or whatever the case. And I'm just kind of at a different, area. As for like Apex and stuff, I do think it's kind of relative to the alliance to some degree, but even then, I feel like top alliances are still going to feel it. Like, for example, I'd say like 59E maybe. They're really whalish, but I'm sure there's a lot of whales in there, or even just normal players who micro heal in between main fights. And I mean, when you look at someone like Safe Me's so cracked out that he probably doesn't micro heal himself. But think of it like this: who's going to fight Safe Me if like if it was the 100 heals, maybe now that's 500. I'm not as sure. Maybe he'll still get his fights in, but let's say it was the 100 heals, right? Who's going to come out and fight Save Me if these guys can't afford it, right? Who's going to be his like what he's going to feed on and make him clear his hospital? Because who really thinks safe means micro healing, right? He's not micro healing in between freaking zombie fights up mid. And it's not like these mega whales that are like, micro healing in between maybe a zombie fight aren't spending a ton of money on speed ups and stuff during mid fights. Like the reason that we micro heal in between, let's say, scavenger fights or something, is because we're saving all of our speed ups so we can go as hard as possible when towers open because we need to be able to clear our hospitals like multiple times, right? Like I'm clearing my hospital at least, 100 days, let's say, right, while I'm tower fighting because I'm freaking needed to swarm a rally or I'm needed to clear the field so we can get a rally out. So I mean, like, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of stupid on all degrees because you're not really able to feed like the mega whales as much, fighting, which is going to fill their hospital, which these top mega whales aren't going to waste time micro healing. They're probably just going to clear their hospital using speed up. So it's like, what is really the point in that kind of scenario? So I don't know. I don't know if I mentioned this when I started talking, but I do think like the 500 help thing was probably actually already pre-planned. I think they maybe expected some level of backlash, maybe not to the degree they got it, but they probably expected some level of backlash. And I feel like a lot of games do this where they'll take a step back and they'll say, "Hey, we hear you guys." So then when you feel like you're heard, you're not really going to complain anymore, right? So they kind of just say, "Oh, we hear you guys, so we're gonna take a step back and we're gonna make this update so much better for you guys, even though, you're still getting kind of, like you said, slapped in the face." So, and then it just makes them look like they're hearing you out, and it kind of just takes a lot of the backlash away. So I don't know. I mean, depends how you really look at it, where you're at in the game. Like if you have like let's say 30 heal bots, et cetera.
Right. No, I do think that it was pre-planned, honestly. I think that they had it in their back pocket the whole time. It was the follow-up to after the backlash happens, you know? Because obviously there was going to be a backlash when they did that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the freaking like bread and butter of Doomsday. So, I mean, what did they expect? And it's crazy. I really don't understand this part. Why they didn't just wait to like drop this kind of patch note after maybe the tournament or something, right? Like, shouldn't you wait and just wait so like the bad PR maybe isn't like going into your tournament that's around the corner? You know what I'm saying? Like, what was the logic around that? That made no sense to me, bro. I don't know. That was kind of like really the stupid part, if any.
Yeah, I don't think they're in touch with their player base, maybe. So they're not aware, or maybe they just didn't plan ahead. But the thing that I was thinking about really is I think they're planning on selling Doomsday to someone else. That's why they're trying to pump up their balance sheet to make it look as profitable as possible. So it's enticing to whoever is looking to purchase the game off them. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of that like, oh, why are they suddenly introducing all this money grab stuff, right? Like, why is the pacing so bad for the release of the new features other than it's going to force people to spend money on the game in order to stay competitive, which is going to make their bank account look bigger. So then whoever's buying is like, oh my God, this game is a cash cow. Let's go buy it, right? So I mean, that's just my thought on this subject.
Yeah, it's always possible, but then again, it's like it's IGG. Like they don't seem like the type that are kind of, I don't know, maybe needing to sell out games, but maybe I'm just tripping. Because I don't maybe because what I was thinking, right? Like I think that they're maybe copying, like they're taking a page out of, Rise of Kingdoms, right? Really big game.
I heard of it, but I'd never played it.
Okay. So Rise of Kingdoms actually does have limited heals, right? Like they have like limited amounts of heals every day. Like I remember because I would see like I would like occasionally go into like a Chisgul stream, right? And he's like the big streamer in Rise of Kingdoms, and he would maybe end up running out of helps, right? So he's literally healing with no helps, da 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 da. But I was thinking maybe they just kind of took a page out of Rise of Kingdoms book and was like, oh, we'll just introduce this because apparently someone was saying it was also in Viking or Viking Rise, which is also an IGG game. And I think they also had like maybe put it in that game before they did it here to see maybe how the reaction was or whatever the case. But I don't really think maybe they didn't understand the like sentiment within the community because it's one thing to drop this update, right? I think they maybe could have gotten away with it when they had like maybe if they had like a more so positive sentiment around the game at the time because a lot of people are already fed up with the game and that's why there was so much outrage over this and people just feel like they're getting abused, you know what I mean? Whereas like, maybe if Rise of Kingdoms dropped it, people still would have been upset, but less people would have quit because they're like, okay, well, Rise of Kingdoms has had a lot of good updates. Da 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 da. There's no reason for me to quit off this. I still love the game. Whereas a lot of people are like, well, I'm already fed up with Doomsday. They just give me like back shots and back shots and back shots constantly. You know what I mean? So I do think it might just be like straight stupidity and not kind of understanding where their like player base is already at. They should maybe just released a lot more of these good updates they had announced at the beginning of the year before they would introduce this, because it would have at least had more of a positive sentiment around the game. And people would have been like, well, they've been giving us a lot of good update drops, so this one's only this bad. You know what I'm saying? Kind of scale it down, I guess.
Like stagger the updates, so you have like purely good ones only without the bad ones stuck in the middle. Then everyone tunnel visions on the bad one. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, it's more like people see all the good updates, right? And then they get finally slapped with this bad update, and they're like, by the time this bad update comes around, they kind of have more of a positive sentiment on IGG because they're like, oh, these guys have been like treating us much better lately. You know, like they've been
Right.
massaging our feet, they've been rubbing my back, they
Yeah.
haven't been pooping in my food. You know what I mean? Like, whereas I feel like, people have like already been, like I said, fed up with the game for a while and a lot of the updates. And that's why there's so much of a negative sentiment and so many people actually willing to quit over this. Because I mean, like even for example, I saw like a comment on Discord, like all started with migration, right? And it's the fact that people still kind of mention migration being so bad that kind of gives you an example of like it's still like festering people's minds. Like at least like you should feed these guys like the good food before you feed them dogs. You know what I mean? Like
Right. Yeah, I guess like, even with the budding Warzone introduction, it was supposed to keep it better for the new players of the game and kind of make sure that the whales are playing outside of budding Warzone, but I heard all the whales are also in budding Warzone now too. So it's
that was
not
just that was a dumb update. Like, why would you even make a budding war zone if your migration system is already flawed? People
right.
already abuse the migration system, so you know that the new war zone is going to get abused as a result. If you don't put restrictions in place to force these guys into a normal war zone, I don't know. Like, you got to fix migration before you add a new war zone that's based around these new regions, which is included in the flawed migration. I'm just like, bro, you can't convince me these guys are like these guys are having a meaningful meeting. I don't
Right.
even know. It's just dumb to me.
Oh, by the way, I'm gonna ask you some questions that some people asked me to ask you. So the first one that someone wanted me to ask you was, how do you feel about the game back then when you first joined versus how you feel about the game right now? Like, has it changed a lot on how you felt about the game, or you're pretty much kind of still similar boat?
So this one's a little. I'll kind of explain why, but it's a little bit tricky for me because I will say, right, when I joined the game, I mean, I had played the game for literally a year before we even had a PvP event, right? It was kind of just like farming, it was fun. Went in my first event, kind of got clompered to be honest, right? I got whale gapped. I had kind of had fun. I had fun for a while, you know. I feel like there was like a lot more drama around though, like especially if you go into top like brackets. This is why I kind of stopped playing in Boone, and I'll kind of explain that. But like I eventually went to Boone, right? Because I actually wanted to try something out. I wanted to try something different. I wanted to, have like different, I guess, taste on my buds, you know. And I had fun there for a while, but like there's so much drama in the top war zones or top brackets and top alliances because everybody's kind of got to be loyal to like the sword or whatever. That it just kind of makes it like really toxic and stuff. And like for example, like I remember like I would get like talked by H and B a ton for absolutely no reason. They would call me like propaganda panda just for simply making like YouTube videos of our fights. I'm like, bro, like
Propaganda.
I'm like, dude, I'm just making videos. And it kind of just like spoils the game for you. Whereas like now I'm kind of like in more of a lax environment. It just is like much more, if anything, I'm actually to some degree having more fun in my current alliance. And maybe it's because we are able to control our matchmaking a lot more. Like we've gotten to the point where we're able to control like I don't want to go to Apex, right? I don't want to go fight against someone like Save Me because it's just too painful. It's not fun for me. But I don't want to bully people either. That's why I try to play at the top of the elite, right? Because there's other alliances that can actually match us here. Like we've met OMSB, there's Moppy, there's NTD. These are all teams that can probably beat us or one for one us, right? In towers, etc. And it's like so much more controlled. I've kind of gotten into, I guess, like a more comfortable spot. I think it's like for everybody to kind of find this like niche or area that you kind of just have the most fun in. Because I think a lot of people in the game also and just get sucked into like maybe like bad updates or whatever the case. And they're like, oh, this game's so bad. And maybe it's because like they're also just playing in like miserable situations. I'd say like if I was in Boone, for example, and I was smaller at the time, I probably would have a lot less fun. And I mean, this is also probably reflects a lot of people that are still in Apex and stuff, just playing these big alliances, and all they do is like fill towers. And I mean, to each their own, right? They can do that if they want to. But for me, I'm not going to go to Apex just to be a tower filler. That's not fun for me. And I mean, that's why like a lot of people will maybe drop down to a bracket where they can at least field fight, even if they're not, a dominant player in their bracket. So like for me, I'm actually kind of to some degree having more fun than I used to in the past. I'm kind of more comfortable. I'm actually more lax as well. Like I don't play as seriously. I don't take, random drama seriously. Like the thing with like Save Me, for example, was kind of all just fun for me. Like when he was just like invading my region, it's just kind of like, dude, I'm kind of. I mean, it's just a game at the end of the day. I think a lot of people take it too seriously. I mean, yeah, these updates are bad. I'll complain about it, but ultimately, I'm still playing the game. I'm still having fun. I'm still able to like make something out of out of my bad situation in my bracket. You know what I mean? Like I'm still having fun in G6, G7, G8, whatever. So
Right.
I mean, it's, yeah, all about how you control your environment and stuff, I guess.
Yeah. That sounds awesome, man, that you guys found your sweet spot because the alliance I'm in right now, FTD, we're still looking for that sweet spot right now. I was kind of telling you that we're trying Elite Warzone right now. We usually play in Fearless. So we don't have enough might to actually make it at Elite Warzone. So I got a bunch of my friends and random players really to come join us for this event. And we're getting stomped right now because we just don't have we're not optimized right now for this war zone. It was just kind of to test the waters to see what it's like. But this is actually a segue that someone wanted me to ask you. Another player in the game, he is actually our part-time whale, but he also runs his own alliance called Ace. Um, so he wanted to ask you. So I'm not sure if you would know the answer to this question because you play mostly in upper elite and lower apex, right? Kind of ish.
Yeah.
So his question is, he noticed that lower elite actually has a lower battle rating than upper fearless. So um, I forget the exact reason why he's asking this question, but it sounds so he wanted to get your input on like why do you think like there's so much the upper fearless is so competitive with a lot of whales that you would actually see in upper elite or lower apex versus like lower elite, which seems to have like a lot of farm alliances and they're a lot it's a lot less competitive, But I don't know if you've ever played in lower elite, but kind of just a
Yeah,
question.
I think I understand, right? So it's like I think it's like a thing of, for example, you kind of were also mentioning this, but like, for example, how you guys are still trying to find your niche. And I'll say this is probably one reason why we're actually able to play as comfortable as we are is because we're like we're among the strongest to where we can kind of dictate how we want to play, right? And that's not like to bash you guys, but like we're literally like, just like some of the one of the strongest teams in Elite that we're able to kind of just dictate whatever kind of bracket we go into, whoever we want to ally, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas like a lot of people, I guess, also kind of just have to like go with the flow of things. We kind of like are usually the flow that it just kind of makes things more comfortable for us. And I think it's kind of the same with like when you go to like top of fearless, right? A lot of people min max. And by that I mean like even in our situation, right? We're staying in elite for a reason. We cut might to make sure we can stay in elite. We don't recruit, so we don't like always like we don't land in apex unless it's maybe AR occasionally. And it's probably the same with fearless because these guys maybe just aren't enjoying like a random like elite bracket where they're getting absolutely clompered in, or a random apex bracket where they're getting absolutely clompered in, which is probably why they're like top of fearless. Though I will also say I don't really play top fearless, but I do think like there's a level of competitiveness there can be, right? Because I don't know because I don't know how like how balanced the whale gap is there because I haven't really seen it myself. Like I know like in my regard, right? Like we fought BDTN during the last island raid, and we have more whales, but they have like higher upper whale limit. So like it was a pretty close fight for us, but we were able to kind of win like field fights with them and stuff. I don't know. Point is like I think like they're probably just like I said, min-maxing and just trying to, win every single fight, milk maybe the most amount of kills, maybe best enjoyment from the game because they don't have to fight in like a bunch of losing battles. You get what I'm saying? And I mean, if they're a whale, they don't really gotta play for rewards. Like people be like, oh well, why would a whale be in Fearless? Because the rewards are worse. Well, they're a whale because they can buy the rewards. The rewards are just a freaking cherry on top of the of the cake. So why would they really care?
Right.
But I mean, yeah, I think the reason, like I said, is just min-maxing, right? They probably have like an upper whale base, whereas like a lot of these teams in Elite, a lot of them are just more casual, right? Like there's so many teams that are like full of players, but you're not like hyper focused on maybe a PvP team. Whereas like for example, Prime, we refuse to not have fighters, right? Like everybody here gets $5 every month at the very least, right? For a subscription, because we want everybody to have the extra 5% returns. And the reason everybody gets this is because you're expected to fight to be in this alliance, right? If you don't fight in this alliance, you're kicked. And I mean that's a part of what makes this alliance enjoyable because everybody does fight and we're all able to play on the same foot. We all, kind of match each other's energy. You got what I'm saying? So it's just all relative, I guess, to alliance build.
No, 100%. I do want to ask you more about alliance build in a second, but it does give me some input on based on what you're saying about like finding that sweet spot for every alliance, and every alliance, obviously will, find that area, whether that be upper elite or lower apex, upper fearless, whatever, right? Because
Mm,
that's essentially where you want to be based on how strong your alliance is. So I think my alliance, we're still finding our identity right now. I joined this back in, I think, November or December of last year after Grow Up has their big exodus and everyone left. Um, and
yeah.
but anyhow, yeah, but like for example, like one of the big currencies I'm seeing right now in Elite is superb armaments, right? Like oh, like it's kind of like a wake up call for us because we entered GW, and then the enemy's looking at reports right away to determine like who should we ally with, right? It's like oh this team only has like three sets of superb armaments. They're not a good team to ally with. Um, kind of deal. So I thought it was kind of interesting, like kind of seeing the shock because I didn't see that in Fearless. Like people weren't like using the superb armaments as a currency to see who they should ally with. Like
Yeah.
even at the start of the match, I saw people sending out like one troop to like tap everyone to see what they have. And they're like, no, no good. We're not gonna ally with this team. So, um, but I think also the other thing I wanted to mention was your alliance. I guess you guys have your identity where like you guys are a fighting team. So if you're not fighting, you're kicked, right? Essentially. But for us,
Yeah.
when I joined this current alliance, it was very social, right? So it's a social competitive alliance. So we are competitive in a sense, but we also have a lot of players that they chat a lot, but they don't really fight. So we're kind of like, but we don't want to kick them out because we're like, oh, they're our friends, right? Like they've been here since the beginning. So it's like one of those like top situation, like so do we just keep them around, not register them? But then they'll be like, oh, how come you're not registering me for the event? So it's like the deal where like, oh, you kind of have to give them some tough love, but it's like, kind of hard, right?
Yeah. I actually the perfect solution like dude, I'm too kind-hearted too. Okay. I I had the same issue, but I had an R4 and his name's Mecca. This guy did not care. There was this I'll give you an example. There was this one player who had rage quit in my alliance, right? They left and they were complaining about this one random player, about one random situation. It was like stupid, right? It was petty. They end up saying, "Hey, can I come back?" Right? And he just tells them, "No, you left on your own. So now you're not coming back." So they basically they begged for a literal week to him. And they tried to beg me. And I was like, dude, you gotta ask Mecca. Like he's the only person who can let you in. Like, cause I literally give him full authority because he's the reason this alliance was so well kept. I mean, he doesn't play as much anymore, but he's the reason we were able to get so good on our feet, and he just would tell them no, right? Like you need someone who's absolutely ruthless and like does not care and is just only focused on like growing and like their goal, right? It's really hard to get players like that, but if you get someone who's just willing to like just say like I don't care, right? It's cooked. I actually have a little funny story about a random player who also kind of temper tantrum quit. But do you want me to explain? You want me to say that? I don't know. I don't want to tangent too much.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, so this player had like kind of like slightly obsessed with me for some reason. They were like I got messages for the last few months ever since they've been kind of removed. And they'll be like, I want to meet you one day, real life panda. I love you.
The
I
girl.
want to be your only woman or something like this, right? I think like she was like, "Oh, I watched your vlog. You're so handsome." Da 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 da. Like, bro, it's so weird, man. And you know what's crazy? I just ignore her. I just ignore her. I ignore her. I ignore her. She just kept asking to come back. This freaking girl migrates the region, asked to join, like literally like a week ago.
Yeah.
Just joins Baby Prime. I'm like, you know what? You enjoy yourself there because I don't got to deal with you. I don't run anything there, so have fun. Like as long as I don't gotta interact with you, I'm not really gonna. It's not my problem. I'm just glad. I'm glad Mecca got rid of her. He saved me a bullet, man. Holy
Well,
freaking people you got to deal with in this game, dude.
at least you know as a YouTuber that you're making it when you have stalkers, right? So
Oh,
there
oh
you go.
God.
Yeah, you might have more. The more you have, the more it means you've done well.
Oh my gosh. I mean, hopefully not too many, dude. I don't want to see my window cracked when I wake up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's funny though. Well, maybe you'll get a good stalker, you know? So,
Freaking A.
um, all right, dude. Let's talk about some strategy about the game. So actually, one of the things I noticed about you when I was in that AR with you, because like I think a lot of people have some misconception about you when they watch your YouTube channel, because like you know the kind of videos you put out, they're more current event style, like they're more news. Like this is the new thing. Let me explain what it is. Let me read it. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
So people don't realize that you're actually a really good war general. Because I was watching
Oh
your
my gosh, dude. I'm in charge of everything. Like, but yeah, yeah. Keep asking. Keep asking. I'll explain, man, because I am like a control freak when it comes to war.
Yeah, so I was watching you guys fight us because you know Rogue was the one leading pretty much our battle, right? In that AR. And I was tiny back then. I was only like 60 million. Like I can't do shit. I was like barely a T5, right?
Yeah.
Um, but I was still like kind of curious to see what how the battle will unfold. And I noticed like you guys were utilizing so many uh interesting strategies. Like for example, like you'll purposely empty your tower, let people hit it with a rally on their way back, you'll snipe them with your field presence, right? All your field will come out and like kill those people. So you're like instead of wasting troops in a tower war, you'll whittle them out when they're outside of the tower, and it'll lower their troop count, right? And essentially, like you guys will have an advantage because you guys will have more troops, right? And I just saw like I was like, what the fuck? This panda guy knows what he's doing. Like, why are people shitting on him? You know, like,
Yeah.
um,
So another thing, right? I don't know if you noticed this during the AR. Sometimes what we'll do is if we're in a losing battle already, we'll kind of milk rallies like this. If we know we can't defend like for example, like if we're already drained and we can't defend a triple rally, there's like a lot of rally captains that kind of just either don't know what they're doing or they kind of AFK half the time during like their rallies, right? So we'll empty a tower on like the first rally and we'll just snipe the second or we'll snipe the third rally. I don't know if you saw us doing
I
that
saw
as
that.
well.
I
And
saw
then we'll
that.
freaking eat it alive. And then we'll just kind of empty when like, for example, Rogue's rally comes back around. And then we can just kind of drain your legion like that.
Yeah, no, I saw you guys because we were doing triple rallies, right? And you know, usually the first rally that hits, that's the tank rally. So you guys will purposely let the tank rally go back. Then that way, like the range rally will hit, and it's like paper, you know. And then you guys will just kill it. And I was just sitting there. I was like, holy shit! Like these, and I think I was more impressed with the coordination than anything because like it's on paper anyone can come up with this kind of strategies, but to implement it and everyone is moving together, like we're gonna empty the tower at the same time, we're gonna go snipe the people that's walking back to their shelters, like the coordination that requires to pull that off is so hard. Like even for my alliance, I think we're pretty good actually when it comes to tower wars, but we don't have that level of coordination. So I was like, that is really impressive. So kudos to you and your team, right? Like I'm like that you guys did something right, obviously.
Yeah, I feel like we're pretty in sync to be honest, especially with I don't know, maybe we just played with each other for so long as well. Like even when we pulled back, maybe people kind of got used to how I play.
Yeah.
Like the second I pull back, everybody starts kind of following me. Like and the thing is, right, I don't ever pull back unless I'm playing a refresh because we'll just kind of tank like hardcore death and they'll kind of just play off of us. Because like I will say, I actually kind of love this about my alliance. Random tangent. I freaking remember playing with some whales in like some really strong whales, and they would just constantly leave their alliance. Like they would just abandon them on the field. And I kind of realized, like, damn, like all of the like whale-ish players here, like just full on whale tank anytime we need to. Like they'll just kind of sit in the front lines and eat every punch.
Right.
Whereas like a lot of these other whale players kind of just kind of do the whole bait strategy. You know how you kind of pull back in your murder ball, which is fine to some degree, but when you're like full on just like leaving your like little T5 players to end up taking the hits, it's like, dude, what the heck? And I don't know, it's really freaking I don't know, it's brutal. So I'm really glad with my team because I kind of realized like all our whale players kind of just tank it out. That's what I freaking it's so beautiful.
Oh, I see. So you guys don't leave the non-whale players hanging out there in the field to get slaughtered. There's always some kind of security presence, from.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So we have at least like four, I would say, really strong like tanky whale players,
Right.
right? Because like you know how people will constantly, and I'm sure you do this. I did this when I was smaller, where you like pull your marches back constantly into the murder ball if you get targeted, right? And it's like it's a it's smart to do because you're smaller and you need to maximize on your strength, and also it's not bad because you're also pulling the enemy with you if they don't stop focusing you, so they're a free kill. But the issue is when whales, like your top whales, start doing this, but to even worse degrees where they just like full on like pull out of your murder ball and they just like kind of leave you hanging because you need these guys to be dealing damage because they're the ones freaking doing everything. And if they tank, I mean, they're gonna live five times longer than you do tanking, a whale. You know what I mean? So we got like Big D. I'm able to tank. We got Doctor Death. Like we got Saint. Like and all of these got like 6 7 mil kind of builds, right? um Across the board, so it's like really freaking useful because none of us really pull out unless like our whole team starts kind of falling back. So it's just kind of like one of those things where it's really nice if you can have like that fortitude who's just willing to kind of just run it down to the death. I mean, we even had Z here visiting, different Z, not the Fib Z. You might know him, the Lost Z. Had him visiting, and he was like, "Oh, just don't pull back, guys, die!" Like literally just run to the death. He was like, "We gotta." He's like, "There's, it's worse to pull back, guys. You just gotta die." I think he was just like die on the field. I'm like, bro, sometimes it is worth pulling back. Like like for example, today we had like cleared out some guys, and it was like, okay, since they're all dead, I don't want them to blitz us while we're all half health. No point getting extra wounded, so let's just refresh. But I mean, at least the guy was enthusiastic. You know what I mean?
Right.
Love to see it.
Yeah, that's really good. I mean, that guy that you mentioned sounds kind of crazy, but like
I
just
mean, he is 400 mil might, right? Freaking one of the top in workshop. Like I'm glad he was with us and not against us at least.
right, right. Yeah, no, that's good. That's a valid point right there. I wanted to ask you personally this. What made you decide to be infantry main? Like, how come you didn't, play range or rider? Because, I think rider is, just from my perspective, like we're in the current age of rider right now. Like,
Oh yeah,
rider
I
is
actually
impossible.
agree with you. So I do agree. I mean, I feel like I kind of already had started as infantry. I am trying to like build like maybe range or rider sets, and I will say, right, I do think like riders kind of have the most advantages. Like, obviously, range as an actual unit itself is the highest damage dealing unit by practicality, but riders just have more uses, be it like speed. Um, maybe you'll lose to infantry, but still you're like a damage unit. And worst case scenario, if there's like an infantry main who's going to beat you out, right? You can just outrun them. Range is like the like literally like is like the highest damage dealing unit, but their kryptonite is a rider main, which is really annoying because one, they can't outrun you. Um, and I mean, you literally just are the best for dishing them out, who's generally going to be the one kind of dishing out because okay, so sorry, I'm like stumbling a lot, but like for example, there's a lot more infantry mains in the game, right? A range main is kind of to some degree, if you're fighting in murder balls a lot, the most deadly thing in there, right? It's just
Right.
really annoying to deal with because they're going to be pumping out your infantry like players really fastly. But if you're a rider main, you can melt these guys pretty damn fast. And I will also say, I think riders are just better swarmer units, right? Range rallies are really annoying because I mean AOE, and they're just kind of like the hardest to swarm to some degree. I mean, there's, like stellar rallies or whatever, which I will say like range, like mains, like can kind of handle that, but it depends on like, I don't know, strength scale. But in general, right, as a rider main, you're kind of the best swarming unit. You're actually countering range. So if you're range on range and swarming a range rally, you're still probably gonna be able to pop that range rally, but you're not as effective as a rider main swarming that. And if you're a rider swarming a rider, you're gonna be doing better than a range swarming a rider because you're literally getting countered as a range main, by the rider unit. I've kind of noticed this when like range swarms riders, they can manage, but they just kind of tend to drop really fast. I don't know if you've ever noticed this. Like when you're swarming a rider tower or something, like it's still good to have a range main swarming it because I mean ultimately they're like a high DPS unit, but you're still better off having a rider main swarming it because you're not getting countered and you're just a really high damage unit. I've always like just noticed rider mains tend to trade better against like a rider tower when swarming. I don't know if that's random to kind of mention. So
So
I
this
feel
is
like you actually have better like you have better swarm options, right? So like you can as a rider main, you can swarm a rider tower. As a rider main, you can swarm a range tower just fine, right? As a range main, you can swarm the all like all the above, but you're not going to be doing nearly as well. You can swarm a Stella because you're actually countering like, you know, like you can swarm an infantry because you're actually countering it. But to some degree, infantry is really annoying because I mean it's like the freaking tankiest unit in the game, so it's like I don't know. It's not like it's not at the same effective degree as like swarming a damage dealing unit that's sometimes just built for like, you know, glass cannoning on like a rally or something. You get what I'm saying?
I do, I do. It's kind of funny that you brought up swarming towers because I play mostly in Fearless, so it's only recent that swarming towers is starting to become a thing. Usually, people just let the rally kind of happen. No one's like swarming it, you know. And I was talking to Z about this, and he said that it's cheaper to actually to swarm a tower because when you have those drawn out tower wars, like your people are dying inside your rally, right? Like might as well just finish it off by swarming it, right? So I'm like, huh,
Yeah.
never thought of it from that perspective. But I do see what you're trying to say there, where like range is not going to be the best for swarming the tower essentially, especially if they're a rider tower.
Yeah.
Um, and but range is definitely good in the big battle royal kind of situation, like the death ball versus death ball kind of situation.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, because they're dealing so much damage, and like
AoE too. Big AoE units. That's one thing to mention. Freaking massive for murder balls. Like there's so many AoE heroes with range.
oh,
Freaking
like what, like Lewis, Bard, those kind of guys. Ethan,
yeah, Lewis,
Chan,
Bard, like
Chan has some AoE also.
Ethan, Sophie even because she
Oh,
has
charge,
the
the
skill that triggers. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
charge thing. Yeah, yeah. No, Sophie's awesome. Like they're releasing new range heroes coming up soon, right? With AoE also, right? Like Spectra and
It's
Cedric.
OD, man. I don't think like it's the same degree though. I kind of still might if I'm like a whale, for example, I'm not sure yet. I was talking to Big D because he's a range main, right? He runs 3 range marches. I'm not sure how I'd like if I were him, how I'd introduce like these new heroes into his lineup because he's like the only hero I can maybe see being replaced is Julia. Because like maybe if you're a smaller player, these heroes would be more effective, but like I feel like AoE heroes are like kind of massive as like a mega whale, you know what I mean? To just kind of utilize in the field, especially in these big murder balls because we do a lot of murder ball fights. So I don't know.
So why can't he have a fourth squad then? Because if he's range main, right? I mean, I don't know
I
how
think he is working on one, but he's not quite there yet
I
because he was
see.
building like a second, I think 6 to 7 mil range set.
Oh, okay. It's because he's a whale, so he also has infantry and rider. So what you're saying? That's why he's doing three
Yeah,
range.
yeah, yeah, yeah. He has like a 5 plus rider and infantry. So like his fourth range just isn't really doing it.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. I guess it depends on like your spending tier in the game. So if you're a whale, then obviously you can utilize troop types outside of your main one. But I think if you are somebody that's like mid spend or lower, I feel like because of the limitation based on the workshop, you should stick to just your troop type.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think it would be easier to stick in the new heroes also because it would be a better fit for you versus like because obviously you can't use infantry or rider as well, right? If you're a range main, because like I'm a range main personally, right? So I'm like looking at the new heroes and I'm like, holy shit, they're really good. Like for example, like one of the things that I do is I have Sophie with Julia, and then I have Lynn, and then Lynn I would pair up with another range hero like either Lewis or even a debuffing hero, just because Lynn's pretty tanky, right? So, but like it's hard for me to put a third range squad because there's no third range squad that provides like the damage reduction that Lynn and Sophie provides, so they're not as tanky. But I feel like, with the introduction of Spectra, she is quite defensive as well. So I feel like running a third range squad will provide that extra defensive capability so you can last longer in the field, because especially everyone targets the range players first, right? So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, you got to worry about rider players and you got to worry about infantry and range players.
yeah, everyone, and you can't run away from them so easily because it's
Yeah.
so slow, right? Yeah, that's why I'm doing like Lynn and Sophie because they both have travel speed, right? But like the other range that you pair them up with, they don't have that. Like Lewis is slow as hell. Julia's slow also. I know Chun's a bit fast, but she's kind of getting old, right? Um,
Yeah.
like Jack Bronte also has speed, so he's kind of decent, I guess, for that perspective.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean Spectre has speed too, since you
exactly.
mentioned that.
And that's
That's
why
like
that's why Spectra is a good addition because she has speed and defensive capabilities, like the two things that you want for any range field, essentially, right? So now it feels more like viable to have a third field range squad that has the speed and the defensive capability. That's just my perspective. Also, like, doesn't Spectra steal rage also? You know,
it was either Spectra stealing rage or was the other guy. Let me see, because
Cedric, I
I think
think,
it was.
regenerates uh has regeneration, kind of like Lewis. It's like a mini Lewis.
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Her
Lewis Light.
precise reflection.
Yeah, Lewis Light. Cedric's kind of like Lewis Light for the rage regen. Lewis.
Honestly, like I swear, is it just me or do they like have like the best freaking designs for range heroes and the other
They
heroes are
do.
like half the time just balls for
Yeah.
infantry and like riders. They just kind of half-ass them.
Yeah. No, 100%. Like Cedric looks badass. Like I love that Phantom of the Opera design. It's awesome. It's really
Literally,
striking.
dude.
Yeah. Sophie, awesome design, man. Like a little girl with this giant zombie. That's awesome. Um, but I mean, Spectre's kind of meh in my opinion. But Bard's pretty good too. But yeah, for infantry, like Boyd, he looks so mid. You know, like um,
Oh, Bard is like freaking just an absolute looking like he's about to one punch man you. That's
yeah,
what he looks like.
exactly. But not Boyd. Boyd just looks like a regular dude, right? You
Yeah,
know.
boy just looks like he's a little tech whiz. He's about to
Yeah.
hack your computer.
Yeah, so it's like it doesn't look as menacing. So yeah. Oh, Aileen's has a good design though. I like Aileen's design.
I like freaking Little Red Riding Hood, freaking
Yeah.
Rubina. Her
Oh
design
yeah,
is
yeah. But it's okay, so I don't play in the upper brackets as much, right? Like I said, this is my second time in Elite, right?
yeah.
So I haven't seen Rubina that much yet. In your experience, has Rubina been a difference maker for rallying, especially against Ethan? Because Ethan's like a monster, right?
Very much so. Okay, so I'll put it like this, right? Rubina is definitely very useful, and it also depends how you like. For example, if you're an AR, obviously you're gonna need a tank, so either you're gonna have a let's say a tank, which I actually don't really like running like infantry tanks on range towers. It's not really my thing because I mean you're dealing with an AoE hero, right? How much are you really tanking besides like basic damage? Like you're still spreading like area of effect damage to the other rallies. So I don't know. That's a random topic, but it's like I really hate freaking infantry tanks in AR against range garrisons. So like if, for example, like some teams they'll have like let's say a triple rider or even just like a rider tank. You want to run Rubina and Chasey as a rider tank, but if you're gonna have a side rally, you always want to have Felix in there because the counter damage reduction is way too insane. Like the amount of damage you can output. So usually you'll see like Rubina Felix or Chasey Felix on a side rally. But anytime you're tanking, you usually see like a Rubina Chasey, right? Which is just kind of perfect because otherwise like your only alternative is what Chasey Felix, and you don't really need Felix for the tank rally. And I mean your super weapon's also really freaking massive bonus damage and whatnot.
So people aren't using Daryl and Rubina together because you would assume that Daryl will increase the skill damage that Rubina deals, right? You know. So it's not
I
it's
don't
not a thing much.
I don't really see that. I mean thing is, right, it also can depend on, I guess, maybe your bracket if you get swarmers and stuff. Because sometimes using someone like Daryl kind of feels like useless. But you also got to consider, right? Think of like Chasey. One reason you still have people use her is because her super weapon's so massive. Her like damage reduction is actually kind of insane when you kind of consider range. Because
Right.
I mean, range is all about damage. You know what I mean? Just pumping out damage. So I don't know. I think like her super weapon also kind of compensates for maybe anything that Daryl would maybe provide you. And I don't know if you know this, but Z kind of also had mentioned this before, but you get like Daryl doesn't like reduce his own AoE, so it's kind of like only so useful. That's why like I prefer it if you have like tower swarmers you can run Daryl instead of having that in a rally because it feels kind of like you're flopping to some degree.
Well, if you're doing a triple rally, then it would still help the other two rallies, right? So
Yeah, though it's like why not just have all your like because rallies are ultimately gonna do like the best damage. So it's like why not just have damage builds and then just if you have swarmers, right, just have them run like Daryl. It's like the same reason like if like it's not it's a good thing to have like a Stella Claude rally, right? Tanking a tower, for example,
right.
because Claude's so massive at just kind of debuffing the tower. But if you're gonna have swarmers on the tower, why would you run Claude? You know what I mean? Just run a like other viable hero because if people are going to swarm with Claude, the debuff's already going in. So what's the point of having that on a rally where you're having 1.5 million troops or 2 million troops that can be kind of pumping in damage? You get what I'm saying? Or actually like providing more of a vital use.
So are you seeing more Stella and Claude together as the tank rally against a tower? Let's say it's a triple rally versus like a Stella and a Marco, because Marco also, cuts the HP, right? With the debuff that
Yeah, but I will say this, right? Especially against like a range or whatever. Like Claude also reduces like the AoE damage. I think it's only on himself, but like that's pretty freaking massive, especially against like if you're tanking on like a range tower or something. Like, so I don't know. I feel like Claude's infinitely just more useful though, either way, all around on his skill usage. So yeah, I do see Claude a lot more. I remember like we were kind of it was like 2 ARs ago, but we were getting rallied and we were trading like pretty freaking positive, like pretty damn well. And then the tank rally was like swapping between like Eddie, da 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 da, and then he eventually went on a Claude, and then all the other rallies started evening out trades with us, and I'm like, bro, you got to be kidding me. Like there goes our freaking trades, man. So I mean, like Claude is freaking massive. Like even on like a range tower, right? Like I know I said like how I hate people using like Stella rallies against a freaking range tower because it's like, what is the point? Because AOE, da da da, whatever. But I mean, if you're just strong enough to still trade one for one against the tower, I mean, I guess it really doesn't matter because those other two rallies are still going to be able to put in their work. You get what I'm saying? So
right. So what I'm hearing now then, this is just my gut feeling right now. I don't know if this is actually where the game is headed. So right now we kind of discussed like how we are in the age of riders, right? Like riders is OP. Like they're so bullshit strong because like one of the best garrison in the game is Chasey, so Ryder, right? And she deals a huge amount of damage, and she's also tanky as hell. So she's like unstoppable essentially, right? And you have to
yeah,
come up with like clever strategies to counter her, right? Um, which kind of leads me to the next segue. It seems like we're kind of moving towards like an age of debuffer and buffer heroes, because like if you want to counter Chasey essentially, then like kind of like what you just said, you have to use Claude, right? Or even Stella and Marco, right? Because of that HP debuff. And then like I'm getting reports now of people saying, oh, for triple rallies in AR, if they're fighting like a super strong Chasey Garrison, then they might have like a Stella and Marco as the captain, or the tank rally essentially to debuff Chasey, right? But then the other two rallies that's hitting the tower also, they'll have like a Claude. One is awakened, one's not awakened, because I think Z mentioned that um, Claude's debuff,
yeah,
if
yeah, yeah.
it's
It
awakened,
triggers if yeah,
yeah, they
it'll
stack,
still
right?
trigger.
The non-awakened, the awakened one, they stack.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So then you're getting like a triple HP debuff essentially, right? You know, and it cuts like Chase's HP by a huge amount, right? So um, I don't know if you've seen that though when you're playing in the upper brackets where they're using a Claude with that is not awakened versus and a Claude that's also awakened in a triple rally setting, or are they just using it in a swarm, because obviously the swarmers can also provide you those debuffs, right?
We have had that in swarms, but it's not really in our like ARs, right? It hasn't really been utilized by my legions. It was mainly in like Island Raid where we had like, I mean like AR. I was doing the debuffing on towers, so I was like tanking with Stella Marco because my Claude isn't really all that pumped up yet. But I mean, we were still doing it for even Boyd, right? I mean, I don't think it even matters the tower. I know you were mentioning like Chasey, but ultimately, like a debuff is a debuff. You know what I mean? As long as you can debuff that tower, those other two rallies are just going to eat it up for freebies. So I mean, debuffs are massive. Like no matter who you are. Uh, like I remember Z had this one island raid ages ago, and he kind of was complaining because I think he had it was F4E, I think it was, and it was Fib F4E against Kako, right? And this was when Kako was kind of in their heyday. And he was like, guys, you should just use a debuff from the tower and swarm, right? Because I mean, even an island raid is pretty freaking useful. If you have like mega whales who can just like absolutely ego swarm a tower, why not debuff the tower so these guys can like slam it as much as possible? Because I mean, ultimately, if you're running a tank rally, um, for the tower, right? You're just running a tank rally. It's not, it's, the rally might trade, let's say, 2 million to 2 million on the tower. And then the freaking swarmers are all trading like every single March 1 million to 100K because, like, I mean, mega whales are just strong like that, right? And it was a chasey garrison ultimately. And these guys could have like slammed it. And I don't know if you ever seen like, really strong swarmers, but if you can diff a tower enough, you're gonna be trading, like I said, like 1 to 10 on towers, just swarming. And most of the damage isn't gonna be from the rally. It's gonna be from the like try hard freaking whales.
So the whales are dealing more damage with their regular squad than the actual rally when they're
They
swarming.
can be, right? Like it depends, right? Like I mean, if you have like a really good rally and that's not just like tank built, yeah. But I mean, I've seen like a big deal Sora Tower, and he'll get like million damage, million damage, million damage on each of his marches. You know what I mean? Delta the tower. And I mean, if you just keep refreshing your marches throughout the whole rally period, like this is maybe a rally that maybe trades like, does 10 million damage on the tower, for example. But I mean, these are solo marches only taking counter damage and just dishing out free damage. You know what I mean? Not even tanking. So it's like depends on the tower as well, right? If it's a range like if it's like a Ethan tower, you're generally not gonna be able to get the same results as maybe if you're swarming a Chasey or if you're swarming like a like half baked Stella. You get what I'm saying? So it's a
Right.
little bit relative.
I see. Gotcha. So, okay, so from I'm hearing this, that means every alliance should have a whale then, because otherwise, you're more likely to lose because you don't have anyone to swarm towers, you know?
Yeah, I mean, having a whale is really nice, and I mean, I think it also goes without saying, but like a lot of heroes just have like random like debuffs or just like stuff that kind of can make your rally trade better, right? Like
Yeah.
just heroes in general, right? So having swarmers is pretty massive, especially if you can double swarm towers, right? That was one thing I think also that like maybe was irritating Z in that one situation because if you have double swarmers, it's freaking brutal for towers. Like we were fighting BDT and they didn't take any allies. We had like one ally, and our ally had connected to their seven and was like kind of just harassing them a little bit. They weren't really strong enough to do anything. But the second they kind of pulled people back, we had Z and we had Big D just like double swarm the tower for like 30 minutes straight. And I mean, when you're able to swarm together, I mean, you're both living longer because you're kind of like pumping out more damage to the point where the tower is dropping faster. I mean, the tower is dealing less damage to you, and then you're also kind of just like playing off of each other. So I don't know. Just having double swarms is pretty massive, and also just means you're pumping out like more debuffs and buffs on a tower and whatnot. So
So double swarm, you mean like there's 10 troops hitting the tower?
yeah, yeah, 10 marches, 10 marches.
Okay,
That's
gotcha. Okay, just wondering.
yeah, because there's the March cap. I'm sure you know that, right?
Yeah. So, okay, so basically you would have like one rally that's tanking it and then nine other squads that's bashing on the tower to whittle down the HP essentially.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I'll say this, right? I actually used to do this when I was like smaller, and I was just running a lot more accounts. But like some people like swarm, and you'll see this in Apex, for example. I think Apex teams could do better if they had like their swarmers kind of utilize maybe or let's say like their top three players or four players all work together to have their best damage dealing marches, right? Because if you have, let's say two 6 mil heroes, but then the rest are like maybe like because you'll see Bodalas and you'll see Stella Swarm a lot, right? Clearly, they're not going to do as good as like a Chasey or Ethan or whatever swarming the tower, right? Because these are damage built heroes compared to a freaking tanky hero that's not really pumping out a lot as much damage as needs to be done. And this is why also I see like a lot of swarms fail because people are using the wrong heroes where you could have used like more damage built heroes if like since like you're talking about like maybe SSI is capable of doing that. You could have like all your top guys send like 2 3 marches of like their top range or like rider marches, right? Just to swarm together and like coordinate these. I actually used to do this on rallies where I would get all my accounts and I would get like because for example, I might have a Bodala on an account, but I'm not gonna like generally try to swarm a rally with that. I'll like have I would have like each account send like two marches of like their strongest range, their strongest infantry, and I would just like have all of them kind of swarm together because there's the march cap, but that doesn't mean you have to, swarm in efficiently. And then you can drop the rally faster, which also just means that your trades are better, and then the tower trades are also better. Whereas instead of like, having Bodala hitting the rally and then you're kind of wasting a spot as well and just trading worse on your front and the rally's front. I don't know.
Okay, there's something I want to ask you about this. It's a little bit off tangent, but kind of same topic. 'Cause you're talking about Badala, right? So I remember I was listening to the podcast that you did with MSR. He's a former teammate of mine when we were in Grow Up together.
Yeah.
And you guys were shitting on Badala because you guys
No,
said
he likes Bodala. He likes Bodala, but it's like
no. I mean,
there's like
like
levels.
I'm just saying like you guys were saying like he doesn't really do damage, right? He's like a just makes the squad more tanky, you know? Uh,
Well, I think MSR uses him because he does do good damage, but it's mainly like it can deal good AoE damage, but I think it's relative to size too, right? Like if you're a Mega Whale, using Bodala isn't as good. Whereas if you're smaller, because he was talking about how like you can forget what it was, but you bypass like some stuff and you basically just deal more like you're able to utilize Bodala better as a smaller player is basically like the gist of it. And you're able to like deal more damage in like a field setting. Whereas like if you're a whale, you're probably better off just or a whale compared to your bracket, you're probably better off just using like an actual practical damage hero since you're also probably not going to be just getting melted off the field right away as well.
right. I mean, I've always seen Badala is good against whales because of the true damage because it
Yeah.
doesn't ignore like defense and other stuff.
Yeah, that's why. That's literally why.
Does it also ignore damage reduction?
Uh,
Do you know
I'd have
that?
to check. I forget if it does
Okay.
that one.
Okay. So, like from my perspective, that's why Badal would be good because of that. The true damage is essentially right. So the more jacked up the person you're fighting, the more useful Badala is essentially right. But there's like a big debate right now happening in the community where like, oh, a lot of people are using Miyamoto and Bodala, and that's like the king. But then I've always felt like since Aileen came out, Aileen and Miyamoto would be like the king of the field for infantry. So I kind of like a lot of people actually asked me to ask you this question since you're infantry main, right? Like, what are your thoughts on that? Like, do you think like the new meta is definitely Aileen and Miyamoto for the field, or is it, Bodala and Mia together would still be the better combination?
I mean, I would use a lean a me Mia lean, right? And I mean, it could be relative to my size, right? Because I'm also playing like in my brackets, right? I'm on the stronger end, so I'm obviously kind of in a different situation. Whereas maybe if you're smaller, you're also trying to just make yourself more tanky so you can get more use out of it. So maybe it's a bit different. But in my case, I have like very little reason to use Bodala with like my highest damage dealing march, whereas I rather just run it with a lean and just kind of beam them. And yeah, like I was saying, by the way, like we were talking about Bodala, like he's good in general, especially if you're, maybe you're fighting whales and you're like a smaller guy. But I still wouldn't use him for rally swarms, at least like because I'll say this, right? If you're swarming a rally, you're probably let's say the guy who sent the rally is 200 million might. You're probably also the 200 million might guy swarming it, right? You're probably not a T5 player swarming the rally. So it's not like you're like punching a Titan at that point. You're probably one of the like you're probably strong enough to be swarming the rally, right? So you have absolutely no like real reason to use Bodala. And like I said, since your damage output in like a short amount of time is so little on it, like the issue is like you're racing the clock with like swarms, right? Like think of like when you're swarming a tower. I noticed this, but anytime I see like a tower swarm, like let's say you're even swarming like a range tower, Bodala or like Marco or something, because most of the time Marco's probably not tanking. You're probably swarming at the rally. These are absolutely like just being useless as heroes. Like every other March will generally trade positive with these mega whales, but then you have like Marco swarming, you have Bodala swarming. They trade so poorly and they deal almost no damage because they're literally there to be meat bags. But you're not hitting a tower to be a meat bag. You're hitting a tower to drop it, and you're not dropping it fast enough because you're using heroes that aren't meant for like damage utilization, like beam wise, right? Like you should be trying to use glass cannon heroes, not freaking tanks to swarm a tower. I don't know. Like I remember this guy, like Thanos from Boone. I remember seeing him like maybe a year or two ago when he was like in another bracket. I forget what bracket it was, like an AR was in though, and he was running like 4 infantry marches, but he was swarming like he was so much stronger than the guys like he was fighting against, but he had like only a bunch of tanky infantry marches. So every tower he would swarm, he was getting like it wasn't even like he was getting obliterated. He was kind of just waffling around because he wasn't built to, drop the tower in like quick succession. That's also another issue with like infantry mains is like most marches you run aren't built for like quick damage. So if you're trying to like, storm out towers, you're probably not the guy to call, you know what I mean?
Right. So if you are infantry main and you're gonna swarm a tower, which hero pairs would you use then to, deal as much damage as possible, like glass cannon style, you could say, not even glass cannon, but like, just deal sufficient damage that you're not just a meat bag, as you have described.
So in my case, I'm running two infantry marches, right? I'm running like a two range and I'm running one rider. I probably should swap this more, and I actually do have like a lineup for specifically swarming, and I probably should swap it more when I'm like swarming rallies and stuff. Sometimes I just get caught up in the moment because I still have like I do have Bodella in my lineup. I just use him with a buffer, right? But I what I would do is I would generally do like my Miyamoto and I would do like a lean because it's my like 6 mil plus like set, right? And then I had like my 5 mil set on my like a dut, and I would probably just throw like another damage dealer. I would even maybe throw Eddie. I would throw like even Stella, right? I don't know. I wouldn't really generally use Stella, but just like let's say you run Eddie or whatever the case, like you just need someone who's dealing damage or like literally built to do more damage than Bodala because most of his stuff is like it's just like he's just too much. He's too slow on damage, right? And I mean, maybe he's better off in a murder ball because he's actually got AoE base. But when you're storming a rally, you're not really spreading that out. So it's kind of like it's got too little use for me at least. It's always my worst march. Unless I'm going to tank and I'm not even like there's no rally up, then I might keep Bodala, right? Just the tank for me.
So it sounds like for the purpose of swarming a tower or a rally, Aileen and Mia is definitely a good pair to use. And you said a dot also, and maybe someone else with a dot. But that's pretty much it, I guess, for infantry, because infantry is pretty limited from that.
Yeah, because I mean, like, what you don't got too many options. You know what I mean? Like, you're like this is the issue with infantry. I mean, like, what are you going to use? Like, maybe Robert? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. What about like just putting Claude there just to debuff the tower, or even like an old
yeah, Claude
like,
Claude would be useful with like maybe even your dut, right? That's kind of actually what I was doing for a bit. I was running like a dut, and I think it was like, but my Claude wasn't really worked on. I wouldn't run Marco because if you're not tanking, right, you're obviously not like
yeah,
pushing out his debuff. So I was running like Bianca with her, still to debuff, but I wanted to still also put out damage. So I would kind of just run that with Maya Dutt instead of like Bodala Bianca, for example.
yeah.
And I would just do swarms. So yeah, I mean like even just I mean like it's still a damage dealing march and it's also able to just provide value in other ways. So it's like, as long as you're doing your part.
What about like an older hero like Lee? Because he doesn't he have like a huge debuff also for HP?
Yeah, but I don't know. Lee's just ass. I think we just leave it there.
Oh, really?
I don't know. Like I think he's just too weak. Like just too weak in general. I don't think he like I don't know. I don't think
You
like
don't think his,
the
you don't think his HP cut is not beneficial enough to put him in the march anymore?
not for me, man. I'm not filling my hospital with Lee. I'm sorry, bro. Like that damage factor too. You got a freaking 4.6k damage factor. Like Bianca probably I don't even know. Her basic attack probably does more than freaking Lee.
Yeah, but you're not after the basic damage, obviously. You're just after the debuff.
Yeah, it's such a joke. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's nice that he removes like I guess the attack, defense, and an HP because I mean, especially if you're storming out a rally, I guess, right? Because then you're also kind of debuffing it from just like dealing extra attack damage on your tower, so on
Right.
and so forth.
Because
But
like can't you stack the debuff off what is it? Like Claude, that's awaken, Claude not awaken, and then Lee. Because then those three are all doing the HP cut, right? So wouldn't that be a big difference? Or you still think like Lee is
I mean, I could see Lee being useful. I just don't like him, especially because like I don't know. I feel like swarmers. Maybe you can argue like the whole debuffing, but at the same time, right? The reason you're swarming is to drop a rally ultimately or drop a tower really
right.
fast. I mean, like you're just trying to put out practical damage. So it's like, is your debuffing for like let's say 30 seconds, right? Because generally, like maybe that's what it takes to storm out a rally. Is your debuffing on that really worth it for that 30 seconds? Whereas you could have been dealing maybe practical damage and not like filling your own hospital as well as a result. I mean, maybe if you can afford it, I guess if you're like safe me, right? Like you can just kind of just fork over the bill.
But then you think that Claude would be okay then for swarming because
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I would still do Claude probably like well over these guys. Like I'd be fine with Claude. Like I said, with like my dud or something, I'd
okay,
probably run on like my backup infantry march.
okay, because he also provides some kind of it's like a bit of damage reduction, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, he also like what's it called? I know he also reduces like his own like damage taken.
Yeah,
I mean, he's got pretty actually like really useful skills to be honest, all around. So I mean, Claude's more useful, and also he like also increases like your squad size and stuff too. So it's like he's more practical, you know,
I guess he's
and
not
also
just providing
reduces
that
counter
one thing,
damage. Yeah, yeah, and he also reduces like counter damage received, right? With
right?
taking like skill damage. I mean, like if you're someone like a range rally, I guess like you know, because like you're gonna be kind of getting skill damage drops on yourself.
Right, and he also increases your HP so you can swarm longer, and um, shield factor also obviously helps. So I guess he just brings more to the table than Lee, which is just the HP cut, right?
Yeah, significantly, at least to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah, I think I heard your one of your videos. You said that Lee is done, right? Like
I think he's just too far out of the equation, you know.
he's way too old at this point. Like they would have to give him a skin, I guess, to to bring him back to life.
Yeah, not some sort of freaking Lewis buff skin either, because Lewis's buff is like, I mean, it's good, but like it's not no Catherine skin.
Yeah, a lot of people that Lewis skin is kind of tricky because a lot of people swear by it. They said it's so amazing, especially like what is that mode that Lewis gets into when he gets a skin? Like like when the like what is it like his enemy is like 20 or 30% like squad left. Doesn't his damage go up by a lot or something just so you can finish him off?
Yeah, I mean, like I'm not saying his skin's bad. I'm just saying like in terms of like I feel like when you're scaling it compared to like Catherine and like Cynthia who got a skin drop, I feel like the change in the heroes is much more significant. Though also I will say, right, you didn't really need a big change for Lewis, so it's not like it was necessary to like give him the same like kind of difference factor.
Yeah. How old is Lewis, by the way? He's been around for a long time, right?
I think it's been like he's like from what I remember, he's literally been out since like the dawn of time.
He's like one of the best heroes in the game still,
Yeah,
despite
I mean, you still see him in towers, right? And he's been out since the freaking dawn of time.
yeah, it's like the best bang for your buck. Like, like if you invested in him a long time ago, you're like, oh, I'm still using this guy. He's still good.
Yeah, who would have freaking thought? Who
Yeah,
would have
'cause
thought he got replaced long ago? At least
n-
to some degree.
never, never. It's not like a Dot's kind of sad, right? Because like a Dot was like the queen for like a while, and now she's kind of like gone down the totem pole a little bit.
Yeah, maybe like in a second March, you'd consider her if you're just doing like glass cannon-ish heroes, right? But otherwise, like, and most people don't though. Like not everybody can afford that either, right? Most people are going to be running Bodal over because I mean, like it's more practical for them. So it's like she kind of just lost a lot of her spark. I mean, you got other fast damage dealing heroes now as well. So it's like, yeah.
You don't think that extra 10% speed is still justified for her? Because she's not
Oh
technically.
no, no, no. I mean, I could see her still being useful. I'm just saying in like terms of like, for example, like people are more likely to invest in Bodala because they want to be more like he's more practical for them in like, like field fights or something because you want to be more tanky or something as, in a lot of these cases. I mean, it's just smaller players, right? Like, and I mean, we got a lot more smaller players than we do bigger players. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I mean, maybe if you're running around the map, but usually you're going to just see that in like one of your two or three marches that are running around like a speedster.
Can you share with me like who your five, if you were to run your own personal five squad marches in the field, like who would they be? Who would be like who would the hero pairs would be and whatnot?
Well, if I could choose like any like heroes in the game, like
Yeah, yeah.
range
So
rider,
like
infantry.
yeah, like who do you think would be like the ultimate like if you can run this yourself, like who would be like let's make this a two-part question. Who do you actually run in the field right now versus who you wish you could run in the five if you have like a five march in the field with the pairs and stuff.
Okay, so right now I'm running Miyamoto and Aline. I'm running Bodala and I think it's Bianca. I'm probably gonna throw Claude in there soon. I was just what's it called? I finished just finished transcending my Stella completely. So I was like,
Sorry, say that again. No, you're doing Claude and who?
I'm gonna do Bodala and Clyde because it was Bodala Bianca, but it was because I was finishing transcending my Stella and I just hadn't worked on Clyde completely yet.
Okay, gotcha.
Um, and I do Chasey Felix. I mean, I love Felix in the field because that AoE reduction is just too nasty. I have Sophie Bard, and then I have Julia Lewis.
Oh, you're doing two range,
Yeah.
even though you're like an infantry account.
Yeah, because I mean, I have like a 6 point, like I could probably send you right now and show you, but like it's, I kind of like the damage build, right? I've been trying to put some devices on my Julia because I mean, as much of a like infantry base as I have, I still like would prefer to have more damage heroes, especially with an account like this. It's like, what is the point of like unless you're fighting like someone like Safe Me, right? I wouldn't need like 3 or 4 infantry marches. Like there's no practical use for like a whale or something to be kind of
Oh, I see.
infantry
That's
running it,
funny, man. That's funny because I was like, I thought you would like have multiple infantry marches, but I guess it's still not worth it, eh? Um,
I mean, I could, right? I have a 3 point like 6 almost on my next set if I wanted that, and like a even another 3 mil kind of infantry set if I ended up wanting to run that. But not really my thing. I
are
only did it when I was in Apex though. I did do it when I was fighting in G2. I did run 3 infantry marches because I was getting freaking I was getting obliterated and I was like, no, I'm not doing this. And like there's too many speed demons, so like
yeah.
I think it's relative to your environment, right? Like I was swapping my lineup around just because I was there, but
So you don't play in the position of rallying garrison, then you're mainly a field presence kind of person.
yes and no though, because I my Stella, like I just shared it to you. I don't know if you
Yeah,
see that.
I saw it. Yeah, it's like
I
fully.
do I do garrison if we need like another garrison, right? So it's kind of like hard to say because Big D is always going to be our main garrison. Um, and then we have Saint who has nearly like a 7 mil rider. So like he'll usually be running rallies before I do. Unless like for example, there was like a situation against I think it was when we were 3v1ing. I don't know if you even watched that video, but it was like with Moppy and stuff. Um, but I was running like a tank rally because we kind of had lost field because we were getting like kind of run down on the field. So I ran a tank rally because they were swarming our rallies out. And then, I mean, they swarm my rally out, but obviously swarming out like a Stella isn't easy. So they had to go back and refresh, which is exactly what we needed. So we were able to kind of just swap our, kind of our stance. But I mean, I'm able to still hold towers. I'm still like maybe a third garrison option for the most part here. Dr. Death is still stronger than me though. Like he's got like a nearly 7 mil range and infantry, so he kind of can take over those roles, but I think he runs rallies more than anything.
So if you're doing infantry garrison yourself, you would use Stella with who then? Like Boyd Stella or
Riven, because I mean, you see my Boyd. I haven't. I have the first skill transcended, or
yeah,
not transcended, but I have the first super weapon thing. I'm planning to work on Boyd soon, but I don't have him up yet. But yeah, I do run my Stella Riven so far.
gotcha. Okay, so this is what you currently run. Like, but if you had the choice of scrapping it, like doing everything from scratch, doing it all over again, and you can pick like a 5 squad march with the appropriate hero pairs, who would they be?
God, you know who I'm thinking of right now? UC. Do you know that alliance, the Russian team?
No, no.
Okay, so they have like guys who will score like a billion points just because they're speed demons running around the map. And they're either infantry mains or they're rider mains, and their leader's a rider main. I like literally would just like have a freaking rider build. Like it kind of reminds me of Amethyst at the same time. Um, God, I don't know how I'd pair these though. I know like
You would be
Saint
Rider
versus
main then if you can do it again?
if I could play again, I would 100% be a rider main with how things are right now. I mean, the only downside maybe would be Garrison because it's kind of the easiest to counter, right? Like if you have good swarms and stuff. But for example, our Saint, right? He's transcended Ethan completely, I'm pretty sure, because he's a rider main, but he like realized like, okay, well, because I mean, I don't know if you've seen this, but a lot of people run Chasey Ethan now. And do you know why that is?
Why? I'm curious about that. I heard about this, but I'm
It's
like, why? Why?
so
Why are people doing this?
it's to compensate for any counter damage or like for example swarmers or whatever the case, right? So like if you're taking multi rallies, like the issue with like Chasey, like Felix, for example, is like it's gonna melt the first rally maybe, or it's gonna deal good damage, but you're gonna get absolutely obliterated by the other rallies. If you're running Ethan, at least you're dealing like you have like AOE factor and stuff, which compensates quite a bit for like the amount of damage on the side, and it's really good in like Island Raid if you're dealing with swarmers and stuff, because I mean it's gonna like a rider tower gets melted pretty hard, and it's not really gonna deal a lot of damage to the swarmers. But if you're running an Ethan, it's annoying. Like we were fighting BDT and we were able to swarm out their towers pretty well. But the second they started throwing Ethan with their chasey, we kind of had to stop because it was a little bit too painful.
That's so weird. Like, so you would do chasing Ethan, and Ethan would still perform pretty well, even though you don't have any range in that squad. It's just all riders.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, right? It's like for example, I know like for example when you what skill is it? No, I guess it doesn't. I guess it just changes in a field. Well, oh no, his fourth skill, for example, right? Like you can transcend that, and it goes from increases range squad defense by 38% to increasing squad defense flat by 45. So it's not too range specific as a hero. Like he does have like for example his third skill, increasing range squad HP and stuff. But overall, the hero is not too like too range based. You know what I mean? To the point where you'd end up needing like to be restricted.
Right.
So I
Yeah,
mean, it's very useful. Yeah.
that's crazy. Okay, I was just looking at the Ethan stats when you were telling me all this stuff. I was like, oh, you're right. That's crazy. Um, so who would you run then? Like if you had the five marches.
God, I probably like replicate someone like a series or Saint, but I can't freaking remember their like lineups. Like I know like because the freaking killer march is always going to be that Chasey Felix. There's like
Okay.
Rubina, and I don't know who I run that with. To be honest, though, probably maybe Daryl. I don't know because Daryl gets targeted quite fast. I target Daryl every time I see him because I after I kill out Felix because I know he doesn't like reduce his own AOE, and I'm just gonna like murk him.
So you would say Daryl's easy kill then if
For the most part, right? Because I feel like he's kind of the easiest squish for me usually. And I don't know. I kind of focus him a lot because I once I realize like he doesn't reduce his own AOE, I'm just kind of like I'm just gonna murk him real quick, get him
yeah,
off the field, and then we're kind of good.
yeah.
Which like our biggest damage dealer here is Big Daddy. So like getting someone like Daryl off the field is actually really useful because then he's able to kind of maximize on his like range because I mean, all his range marches are AoE based, right? Um, so it's pretty freaking useful in like murder balls, and we fight a freaking buttload of murder balls here.
Um, okay, so far we got Chasey and Felix, that's one. And then you said maybe Rubina with
Maybe with
Felix.
maybe with
Not Felix,
Jack.
sorry, Daryl.
Maybe with Jack actually, because I don't like because
Rubina and Jack Bronte.
I don't know if people would find this popular, but I feel like Rubina is actually really so high DPS that I kind of would like it just for the increased skill damage, to be honest.
Okay, okay. Sounds good.
And it's also increased speed, right? I mean,
Right.
I'm trying to maybe I would run like Daryl with maybe I would run Daryl with Marco, to be honest.
Oh, interesting. Because he gets swarmed by people?
Yeah, at least in my case, I swarm it. Um, and then maybe like, I'm trying to think of like a rider that wouldn't get like targeted because I know like for example, I see Saint running like actually I see him just run Claude himself. Like maybe I would if I could afford it, I would run actually Claude Bianca March if I
Okay.
could afford the armaments for it.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So that's four. One more.
And then this might be a throwaway March though. Maybe like uh, May and Elena or May and Bella. I don't hate Bella, but I need her with like I would love to have her with a good hero though that's like not gonna get beamed. Because I actually kind of like Bella when you're like a damage dealer. And the
Yeah.
reason I say this is because her first skill I think increases like all damage by 20% it is. If I
Like
could find her.
she has a debuff, I think.
Yeah. It increases the target's damage taken by 20% for 3 seconds. That's pretty useful if you can stay alive.
So you would do like a classic Bella Elena then, or something like that?
Yeah, probably. Though I feel like that might get sniped pretty fast, so maybe I change that in the future, but I'll just leave it there for now.
Or what about Cynthia with the skin? Because she's super fast, right? With like May.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Because you wanted like a speed demon, right? So wouldn't like the Cynthia with the skin and
Yeah, you could.
and
Yeah. Because if you're good at micromanaging, you can kind of just like play like nodes a lot with those.
yeah.
Because what I you can just kind of jump it in and out, or even in some cases, like I don't know if you know this, but you get like less injuries on a node. So like sometimes you could just throw like a march in a node if you want them to swarm that, and
Oh,
kind of just
really? What,
most people don't know this.
would
But
you still be
when
fighting? Like your troops inside the node is still fighting, even though they're inside there?
yeah. So I don't know if you ever have noticed this, but when you get wiped out in the field and you get wiped out on a node, the like lethality rate on both sides is much lower when you're in
Oh,
a node. That's why, like, if you know you can't outrun somebody, I say just die in a node. Like, just jump in a node and die.
wow.
You're
Okay.
far better
I'll
off.
start doing that. That's a good advice. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, people don't. Nobody really notices it. I don't know how, but I kind of caught it one day because like I just noticed like you just tend to get less wounded. You know, like you're gonna like I don't know, you just get less wounded when you're in a node. Plus, you also get like your garrison talents and stuff triggered. So it's like, why not?
Okay, dude. So since you're a field fighter, that you focus on field fighting specifically, from your perspective, since you have so much experience fighting in those giant death balls and stuff, um,
Yeah,
how would you prioritize like who to kill first based on your perspective? Like, can you talk about like not just like categorically like oh target the leader hero first or debuffing heroes and then target the range and then target the like rider and then the infantry, it's more like which specific like heroes would you kill
play.
first?
Uh,
You have to kill this hero
so
first. Like for example, you see this person in the field, like oh, like Claude, he's gonna buff the team too much and debuff us. So we have to kill Claude first. Like
so generally, I every time I get a report, I notice that the most annoying March is a freaking Chasey Felix. So I kill the hell out of that first. And then after that, I try to get AoE heroes actually out the field. So if I see like Sophie, or I see, like just a like really annoying AoE like player or like hero or whatever, right? Because like sometimes there'll be like a specific player who like is like maybe a ranged demon. We'll kind of just start focusing them as a team to get them off the field because they'll just be like really annoying damage. But yeah, generally I'll take out like I said though, like first thing I'll take out is either like a Sophie or I'll take out a Felix. Like it's one of the two. There's no in between. And then after that, I probably do start taking out like a Claude or something because usually people don't have like the best armaments on them. I mean, if there's Marco Claude, I might just ignore it to be honest, just because I'm like, man, F you. Like you're just trying to
yeah,
make my day worse.
yeah.
Make me pick between a struggle and a hard place. I'm just gonna ignore that. But yeah, I mean, after that, I probably just start taking out like random range because range is generally easier, but it also depends on the player, right? Because like sometimes we'll because I told you we have like kind of four upper whales and we actually coordinate really well together. That if we have like a certain player we want to focus, like do you know Farmer from VWAO?
I
Like
know.
he's a really big whale. We had to fight him during one of our Genesises, and we had just our top four whales focus him every time we saw him. So we just would take him out. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's not even just hero. It's like you just take out the player, and once the player is gone, everybody else starts crumpling. Like they're just easy kills. And I mean, I know people sometimes struggle between, hey, should we take out the top guy or should we just take out the little guys and break their legs? Because sometimes it is kind of better to just take out the small guys when you think about it, right? Because once you get rid of the people filling on the field, I mean, what's the big guy going to do? Come out alone, right? But I mean, Genesis War is too fast paced for that, so we kind of just crumple the big guy during like a zombie fight, and then we can kind of just feed on the other guys for freebies.
That's
Yeah, but
interesting. I never thought of taking out the specific player first just to like destroy the hope of the team, right? Like 'cause that's like their every team has like that central player, and without the central player, everyone kind of like loses morale.
yeah, I remember when we were fighting Rogue, for example, in Island Raid. This was like maybe 2 months ago. We had we were in a call, right? Because sometimes like our guys would get in Discord call and they would like call out what heroes they were focusing. So like, obviously there's a March cap. So like they'll be like, hey, I'm gonna focus this, and you just have two guys maybe focus out like the like Sophie, and then you have two other guys focusing out the same guy, but his rider or whatever instead.
So when you guys fight in the field, then do you guys are usually on Discord then or something like a voice chat?
Not most of us, to be honest, right? I think we just kind of have really good synergy for the most part, but I will be in like sometimes voice chat with like maybe one of my R4s or something, and he'll help me like maybe sometimes do towers or whatever. And he'll just tell me like if I need to be somewhere. If sometimes I'm like, kind of missing something, which I usually don't, but if I am, it's helpful to be in a call and good for coordination, I guess.
That's crazy that you guys can coordinate so well without the voice chat because that's pretty hard to coordinate unless you've been playing together for a long time. So, like for your alliance specifically, how long have you guys been playing together?
Well, it's hard to say, right? Because a lot of these guys kind of filtered in after a while. Like for example, like I mentioned Saint and Death, but like these guys have only been here for a few months, but they like kind of instantly synergized with our team. Like I think they kind of got our play style really fast and like, how we fight, how we field fight, if we pull back, when to pull back. Um, they're really good at communicating as well and like chat if they want to like, ego an enemy or whatever the case. So I mean, honestly, it's pretty freaking flawless. A lot of the guys here though have been playing for at least like I would say a lot of them are maybe a year, right? Because I would say like for example, when Safe Me invaded, we got Big Daddy because he kind of came to help. And then he never left because he was like, I don't know, he was like a friend of mine and he kind of just stayed along. And then a series came. I know Orc's been here for maybe 2 years, Mecca a year or two. And then a lot of these other guys kind of come and go, but most of them have been here for at least a few months. But I mean, you kind of get it really fast, right? Like this is a PvP team. You either get it or you don't. Like you kind of understand like when we start pulling back, you kind of start to catch on because if you don't, I mean, you get the hospital bill, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or like when you see the whales start dying, right? You start knowing to like pull back so we can refresh and you can still like play off of us tanking. So yeah, I don't know. It's pretty flawless, which I like. And then when it isn't, I start crashing out because I'm like a control freak and I hate when I see mistakes. That's why today I was getting really pissed off because people were making mistakes. Like we had people filling our science hub from afar and we ended up losing it. I mean we won the round obviously, but we had lost it like because we swarmed it right off the bat and then they had sent in a rally and our guys like tripped out and they were filling from afar while we had people like standing next to it. And I mean, normally it's not as big of an issue, but like all of our main issues come from Genesis War. Maybe it's because it's just such an open map that people kind of like flood panic or something. And
Yeah.
it's like our biggest bad event in terms of like mistake making. So I don't know.
It sounds like you guys have really good field presence then, in order for you to have those fillers ready to go, by
Oh
the
yeah, yeah. I mean, like I'd say like it sounds a bit like arrogant, but in terms of like field, we definitely have to be one of the top teams in the league, right? Like there's a few teams that I can say that probably could beat us. Like one team I can say confidently could beat us, OMSB. Nobody ever talks about them, but they are an absolute freaking insane team. And their average workshop is absolutely mad. Like they've got too many players with over like 20s across their workshop. Like
Wow,
you can
that's
see them in
disgusting.
G9.
That's
No,
gross.
it's like yeah, yeah, and people nobody really like notices these guys until you get hit by them. Like they are freaking trucks, man. Oh my gosh, we 2v1 them with BDT. And to be fair, my team made a few mistakes during that Genesis, but like because maybe we could have knocked them out of top two, but it was the last ring, and somehow they still managed to like get top two. I think maybe they even got first. I was like, bro, they're freaking like one of the strong. They might be the strongest team I've ever seen in the league. Like I've never seen a team that can like one up them in terms of field during their up hours at least.
That's super interesting. I think for me personally, with my alliance, that's like the number one struggle we've had is field presence. I don't know why. Maybe because we're like a fearless alliance, and I think in fearless you kind of it's. I think fearless has more miss mismatching than upper elite, you could say. Because I think when you get to upper elite, right, like you're pretty much playing against similar teams every round. You're
Yeah,
familiar with them and they have the same build, so you're kind of familiar with the build, and everyone kind of plays a certain way, and you have that synergy that kind of like you're discussing where you're like, I'm in a fighting alliance, we expect to fight together in the field, right? You know? But then in Fearless, it's like Okay, well, we don't know how many people are gonna be online today, so we'll just hope for the best, and like we'll fight with whoever's online. So I don't know if you guys have that struggle where there's like a specific battle window that everyone's online, but like um
It's not as bad for us actually. We have like I will say like obviously we have our downtime where we're gonna struggle more so. But to be honest, our alliance is quite diverse in time zone, and we actually have people like most of our like top fighters are willing to like be a little bit flexible at least with their like like fight times or whatever if they need to be. But like for example, we got Russians, we got French people, we got Turkish people, like we got people all over, right? So
right.
I mean it's pretty diverse and when they're needed to fight, usually they'll be pretty active. And the best part is like I won't act like our whales are pretty strong, but it's not like we're like, for example, like 100 mil plus in AOD. Our guys aren't all like 100 plus in AOD, right? Sometimes we'll meet guys like Farmer, for example, who's like 110 in AOD, right? But we got like, the upper like whale group who's really well coordinated. And it's like if everybody's like, let's say 80 million in AOD, for example, all four of our top guys, we can just swarm them out consistently. And there's only so much they can do, like, to kind of beat us out at that point.
AOD is like the arena, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I,
Okay.
I I use it as like a reference because generally if like you're over 100 in AOD, you're like a pretty top whale or like 110 in AOD. Like, you got like probably 23, 24 across all your workshop.
Gotcha. Question for you about your account that you're playing right now. So, do you still use your old account, or have you completely switched to the one that you got?
I just switched. I didn't want to. I kind of like right now. I've kind of gotten to more of a what's it called focus on trying to just play like. I sometimes play multiple still, like just on the side, but I kind of want to just focus on one because I'm also not as I guess like free as like maybe I used to be able to like play on other accounts. So it's just more convenient for me.
Oh, you're more busy now in your real life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's helpful to be able to just play on one because I'm also I just have stuff I'm trying to prioritize. So
Do you not feel attached to your old account, or like?
I mean there's like a level of attachment, but then I kind of got to the point where I'm like, I don't know, like I did feel it and I was like, oh, because it's like 1.4, 1.5K days old, right? But I'm also just like, nah, you know what I mean? It's like at the end of the day, like
So
I'm
it's
playing this game to have fun. At the same time, it's like, do I really care too much about like how old my account is or whatever the case? It's like
right.
it's just all superficial. And I'm at the end of the day, I'm trying to do stuff to just kind of like for myself IRL. So it's like, why am I gonna why am I gonna let my like my little feelings about me having an old account kind of just make me like play differently? Or I don't even know. You get what I'm saying, right?
So your old account's just for farms now. Then you're just using it to farm.
Yeah, it's just, kind of just farmer. I mean, I'll usually use like 200 mil accounts, for example, if I have them like open on my computer to just like help with field to just like tank or something. Like I'll just like kind of let them whale tank for a round or something in Genesis. And if they get cleared, they get cleared. And then I'll just like do filler duty with them. And then after that, I kind of just like farm with them. Yeah.
Oh, so you have multiple 200 million accounts.
I mean, like some of them I just get entrusted during fights and stuff. So I'll kind of just like, or like for example, there's this one guy who doesn't really play much. So I kind of just farm the account and then I'll kind of show up for fights and I'll just field fight with it. So it'll kind of be a body bag during like a Genesis round or something.
Yeah.
And then, I kind of just like will either fill the hospital and just chill because, you get like percents back after. So it's like, I don't really mind filling the hospital or, using it as a tower filler.
Right. Right. Oh, okay, that's cool. All right, man. I think I asked you most of the questions that I am thinking. I don't know if I have any more questions, but do you have anything that we haven't discussed yet that you think we should touch on?
Man, I feel like we went through quite a bit in this. I don't even know how long we were in this call. That was like what, like 2 hours?
Yeah, just a little under 2 hours. We're almost there. If we could continue for 4 more minutes, I think we got 2 hours.
Oh, heck yeah, man. I mean, you could talk about maybe what do you have any plans with what you plan to do with your channel? Any direction plans or?
Yeah, yeah, we can talk about that because we're both YouTubers, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, so right now I'm doing Doomsday. I'm a Doomsday YouTuber, but I do want to branch off to other games because I don't want to get like pigeonholed to just Doomsday because Doomsday is gonna die eventually, and
Yeah, yeah, on
my
top of
channel will
that.
be dead also, right? So um, I did make a declaration before that I'm gonna talk about other games. Like I play like PlayStation 5, right? So I was gonna talk about like other games that I play, but haven't gotten a chance to it because there's so much content in Doomsday right now. So I've just been cranking out content for this game. Yeah, there's like lots of updates, lots of drama. There's always something happening, right? So like right now there's like the two new range hero coming out. There's like this Godzilla thing that's out right now with the King Kong like yeah, I mean
Crossover, yeah.
yeah, like I mean I don't, what's your thoughts with the King Kong beast? Do you think it's gonna be really good?
I think it'll be solid, right? I think it was like I forget exactly, but like for example, like a normal beast might have like what is it, like a crit build, but then this one's like a combo build. Like it's all relative, and if you can, actually get like the kind of chips for it and stuff.
So it doesn't really matter then, in regards to what beast you get, because you can just balance it out with chips at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, I still think like maybe Kong would be better if like you can build it properly, but I mean, I think like you're still gonna be fine if you don't have it. I don't think it's gonna like break your back either, unless you're like a top mega whale who needs to hold a tower and it's gonna be King Konger Rhino.
Yeah, because I'm looking at Kong and he has like a special fifth skill called Colossal Fury that like I didn't see that the other bees have. Like I'm looking at right now. Like I mean, yeah, Itachi has it. So basically, all the collaboration bees has this, but the non-collaboration doesn't have this. So I'm thinking just based on that alone, he would have a slight edge over even the rare bees. And I mean, I was asking Z about this, and Z said that the rare beast is not as strong as the collaboration beast, which I actually found very interesting because that would mean the collaboration beast is actually cheaper than the rare beast because the collaboration beast you can use the gold isn't that the gold beast to power them up?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah, yeah. You can use any normal gold beast to power it up. So if you already have like a tier 7 saber tooth or something, you can instantly have your Kong at like tier 7, and I think it like will instantly refund like all your XP, all your prism, like all your investments on it. So you'll instantly be able to just level it.
so for Kong, you can use the saber tooth or the rhino, either
Yeah, 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 yeah. You can use
mix
either
and
or.
match them.
You said what?
You can mix and match them
I
to
mean, yeah, as long as it's red, you can put it in there.
yeah. So that's what I mean. Like, doesn't that make it easier for you to it's or
Oh
cheap?
yeah, 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 to level. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because you can use two for the same beast, you know?
Yeah, true that. Better pricing. I mean, though, I guess you don't really care about expense if like you're safe. I mean, you probably have like every beast like maxed out already, you know?
Yeah, like if you're like in that spend here, you don't care, right? But like, I play in I'm a mid spender, so I have a specific budget that I follow every month. So I have to like pick and choose, right? Like for example, right now I'm working on superb armaments, right? So my goal is to have my first full superb. I don't have a full superb yet, right? I'm getting close. So like I can't buy other stuff until I finish that. I have to finish that first. Then I can go work on the other stuff. So that's
Yeah.
the way I approach the game. But I know like obviously if you can throw money, like then you're good to go. So, but I always advocate that people stay with a budget. Like I think people shouldn't go crazy and just dropping money unless you can afford it.
Yeah, I think a lot of people kind of like I don't know. This is why also like when I'm covering like roulettes, for example, I always try to emphasize like don't like if you don't think you can afford to get the skin and you can't buy it at the maximum price, don't go for it, right?
Yeah.
Because so many people get sucked up and they're like, oh, let me try. Maybe I'll get it lucky for $400, and you end up spending like $800 because you just like you felt like the cost deficit. You know what I mean? And you just felt kind of inclined to buy your way up, and it's like, dude, you didn't have to do that to yourself, but people can't help themselves. It's like,
Yeah, I think people get sucked up, like get sucked in also. I mean, it's not their fault. It's like a psychology thing. Like I think it was in this book that I read where like if it's like I think it's called commitment. Like if you buy something, let's say for like let's say you go to fast food, right? And you're going to McDonald's and you're ordering something, right? And then they ask you, it's like, oh, do you want to supersize that for like, an extra like I don't know, a dollar or two, whatever, right? And then most people say yes because they're like, I'm already buying it. It's only like a buck or two, and I get a lot more like fries and drink or whatever, right? You know?
yeah,
So it's like kind of like that. It's like, oh, you already committed to it. You're like, you already purchased some stuff. So, it's kind of like endless offers, for example. I think that's like the best example. It's like, oh, it's only $1. Oh, the next one's only $2. Before you know, you bought the whole thing, right? You know? So
yeah, because you're like, oh, I'm already there. Oh, look, I can level up my armament next if I do this. Da, 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 da. And you just
yeah,
keep.
exactly. So it's easy to fall for that trap, right? Like if you don't follow like a budget. Like I've spoken to some whales with budgets and I think they're doing the right thing. Like I know it's still like a huge budget. Like, I've spoken to some whales like, oh, my budget is $1,000 per week, right? I'm like, great, you have a budget. Like you're not just like spending out of your ass, just because you can, right? Like I think it's still good to like have a plan. Um, but anyways, dude, last question for you before we wrap this up. Like what are your plans for your YouTube channel?
I don't really have any major plans. I kind of been like going with the flow. I mean, I don't know if you've noticed, but like even my upload schedule is slower. I kind of been like editing less. I don't really know as much what I want to do going forward. I don't know if I'm gonna just like maybe I'll just post random games if I end up kind of playing through them. I'm still probably gonna post some Doomsday on the side because I mean ultimately I still have fun with the game. Like I know I explained it earlier, but I mean like I have fun in my own way. Even if people like are upset with the game, I'm still like having plenty of fun. Our brackets are good for fights and stuff. So I'll still post like my PvP, my commentary and stuff, but that's just gonna be me casually as long as I can like edit a video and I can get the time to do it.
Right. So I guess you're doing it mostly just for whatever feels right?
Yeah, I just do it because it's like fun. It's just like I don't know, it's all fun for me. So that's the only reason I even like started uploading Doomsday in the first place. Which is kind of funny because if you ever look back at like my first Doomsday video, it was just me kind of like so basically we would just zero bases during like top commander during
Yeah.
like the free for all war, and it was just dead bases in the region because there was no island raid or anything like that. And like you could even hear like so much background audio and stuff because I was just like blue. And then suddenly I start like I think they started getting like a bunch of subs because the game started like kind of getting popular randomly because they started like mass releasing it in regions. And then I kind of just started more consistently uploading because people liked it and I liked uploading and it kind of just made me, I don't know, it was just more fun. It was just fun for me. So
I think one of your claim to fame is your voice. You have like an ASMR kind of voice.
that's what people tell me, dude. That's
Yeah.
what that's
Yeah. I think that's your claim to fame. Like it's definitely your voice. I'm like,
dude.
it's
I
like,
never understood it though. I felt like I have like a pretty average voice, so I never understood like all the compliments, but I appreciated them. I never really had people compliment my voice as much as I did when I played Doomsday.
yeah. Well, no homo, but you do have a nice voice. So
Thank you, dude.
yeah, yeah. Although the tricky thing is, I didn't know you were a black guy. I thought you were a white guy because your voice sounds
Yeah, I mean most people think that, right? I have like a pretty like higher pitched voice. I will say, right? I'm kind of just it's funny, right, to be called black because I mean I can always just consider myself mixed just
are you
because
are
like
you half? Are you
I'm
half?
half and half. I'm half and half because my dad's white, my mom's black. So
Okay.
it's just always funny when people consider like, wait, Panda was black, and I'm like, oh yeah,
No, you're half. You're like Obama. Obama's half, right?
yeah. I'm like what's it called? I'm that caramel,
You're
caramel on top.
is that what it is? Caramel is like the mix.
Yeah, that mixed area, right in
Yeah.
between.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I was definitely shocked when I saw you. I was like, what? You know, because like I felt like, oh, you have like the whitest voice I've ever heard. Like kind of like Justin Bieber. Kind of like I was picturing you like Justin.
Yes, dude. Dude, I had like a old Valorant duo, for example, and it's funny because like I showed him a picture of me one day, right? Just to kind of like be like, hey, by the way, because we were like I guess showing each other ourselves, and he thought I was catfishing him. You know what I mean? I was like, bro. So I had to like call him or whatever. Like I could send you a picture, but like you can tell I'm like pretty like I'm like literally right in the mixed area. Unless
Oh.
you catch me when I'm like in a shade or whatever. Yeah, it was funny though because I always thought about it when I was like doing videos, and I always just knew people probably thought I was white, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be such a good way to like trip everybody
Shock
out.
people. Yeah. 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 No, it was definitely shocking for sure.
Oh my gosh,
When you
yeah,
the reveal when you went to the event because you're covering events, right?
yeah.
Um,
I looked so bad though. I looked terrible. I don't know why. Like I just didn't get a haircut or anything.
when you went to the first event.
Yeah, I just had to look like absolute guard dog water, but it's okay.
Well, at least you had fun. That's what matters.
Yeah, it was great. I had a freaking blast. I didn't think I'd have that much fun. And I still got this dick on my wall.
Oh
Hmm?
yeah, I think I heard you say that someone gave it to you, one of the players there.
Hands bought me this freaking keychain.
Oh, it's like a what do you got? Nostalgic for you now? Like a take.
Yeah, I could probably wait. Let me see. Can I share my thing? I probably can. Look, look. Can you see this right here?
Yeah, yeah, I see it. Oh yeah, I see the dick.
Freaking, yeah, it's a freaking keychain. It's hilarious.
Yeah, yeah, that's funny, man. I think it's popular in Asia, like to get one of those. Like I think there's like a country called Bhutan where they worship that. So
Dang, bro. Freaking random fact.
yeah,
Love to
random
hear.
fact. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because I travel a lot, so I know all this like random facts.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. But hey, dude, well, let's wrap this up here. We can always do like a part two in the future, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
let me know.
Yeah. So yeah, it's nice meeting you, man. Nice talking with you. Nice shooting the shit, like learning more about, your journey in this game and, getting a lot of the tips that you also sprinkled in during our talk, obviously. So I hope that the people who listening to this can take advantage of it, like, like your resource trick and whatnot. And, so
I hope I didn't blabber too much. I know I get like caught in my random tangents.
yeah, it's all good, man. It's all good. I think it's part of the deal, like to I think it would be boring if you just talk about the same thing for 2 hours. It's good like you kind of hop around a little bit. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
but anyways, man, peace out, man. We'll
Yeah.
yeah, keep in touch.
Yeah. Sure thing, man. It was
All
good
right,
talking.
all right, later.
All right, see you, man.